Hokage, I can only use Xianju. Chapter 201-219. Chapter 201-absorb the 10 tails. Jiwei's body could no longer make people stand, so everyone could only jump down first. Naruto was madly absorbed chakra by the wooden dragon. At this moment, he was about to faint. He was confused by the wooden dragon and fell into the ground. At this moment, Obito has left the body of 10 tails together with the 4th generation. Looking at the gradually shrinking 10 tails, Obito's heart sank. It seems that Madara has succeeded. I am afraid it will be too late. Orochimaru came to Feng Yao's side, jumped off Jiwei's body with Feng Yao, and Taiyu on the ground immediately greeted him. She smiled and said, "Congratulations, it seems that Lord Fengeling has succeeded." Feng Yao smiled and nodded, and everyone watched the 10 tails gradually shrink to one place. After the 10 tails completely disappeared, a floating man appeared in the air, and he had a face that was somewhat similar to Feng Yao. After Feng Ling absorbed the entire body of 10 tails, the entire body had undergone tremendous changes. His hair has turned white, and he is wearing a white robe of a 6-path immortal. There are 6 dark red hook jade on the neckline, 9 seeking jade behind him, and he is holding 6 tin sticks. The left eye is closed, and the right eye is a light blue pupil. Finally caught up. Is this the power of the 10 tails? It's really hard to control. Feng Ling shook hands, and at the same time wanted to put the combination of most tailed beasts and outsider golems under his control, not an easy task. Ordinary people will directly collapse on the spot. Only with innate adaptability and acquired strong mental power can they control this earth-shattering force that even the God who created the country is afraid of. Innate adaptability. Fengeling's body is the pinnacle of Orochimaru, which integrates various blood and research results. Although the acquired spiritual power is relatively weak, Feng Yao is a soul and can fight against the consciousness of the 10 tails together without causing a collapse. Who is this guy? Feng Yao. Who is the one who just fought against me? Madara was furious. After all, it was impossible for a shadow clone to absorb the 10 tails. Feng Ling first stepped directly to Feng Yao's side and put a hand on Feng Yao's body. Sorry, Ontology, I kept you waiting. A large amount of chakra poured into Feng Yao's body, and Feng Yao recovered after a while, and he directly tore the heiju that was sticking to his body. Damn it, help, Madam Madara, come and save me. Heiju panicked at the moment. He found that the yin and yang escape he mastered could not compete with Feng Yao at all, and was easily crushed directly. It must be someone from my own family. Too bad, they have also become Zuli of the 10 tails. Now let alone the plan to resurrect my mother, I'm afraid I will die at their hands. Heiju was full of grief and anger. He didn't expect that he would work so hard. After 1,000 years of calculations, it finally came to nothing. Feng Yao directly threw his backhand, threw Heiju on the ground, stepped on it with one foot, and then rubbed the entire sole of his foot 90 degrees back and forth. I said it earlier, Heiju, you are looking for your own dead end. Feng Yao also used yin-yang escape when he stepped on it. Heiju couldn't melt an escape. If Madara doesn't know what the relationship between Feng Yao and Feng Yao is, then he is really stupid. Madara knew that the situation was over at this moment, but he was determined and would not give up easily. If he didn't succeed today, then he can still wait for the opportunity. Ninjas are people who work hard for their own goals. As for Heiju, in Madara's view, it was just his own will, and it didn't matter that he could sacrifice at any time. Madara said unwillingly, Feng Yao plus a strange clone of the 10-tailed man Zuli, I have no chance of winning, so I have to retreat first. Feng Ling saw Madara's thoughts and moved slightly, ready to stop Madara at any time. At this time, in Feng Yao's mind, the voice of the system came over. Congratulations to the host for completing the task and becoming a 10-tailed shogi. Reward, limited ninjutsu system, full version. Feng Yao stopped exerting force at his feet, and he immediately asked back, what does the full version mean? Are you incomplete? System. Suddenly, Feng Yao felt light all over, and some kind of shackles on his body seemed to be opened. This comfortable feeling made him even forget the Heiju under his feet. How could Heiju let go of such an opportunity and swish directly into the ground? Quickly came to Madara's side. After all, he could only rely on each other now. However, Feng Yao didn't care about Heiju's escape. Just when Feng Yao's own ninjutsu, immortal, and pupil techniques that had been sealed were all unlocked. What's the matter, system? Did you do this? Feng Yao clenched his fist. He felt as if he could do anything now. System. Yes, the full version of the system allows the host to retain all the limited ninjutsu obtained in the future. Madara also noticed that Feng Yao was standing in a daze, and he didn't want to miss this great opportunity to retreat. Fire escape, dust hidden technique. Madara's mouth bulged, and once again a large amount of high-temperature smoke obscured her vision. And he himself took the opportunity to quickly rush in the opposite direction. Seeing this scene, Feng Ling chuckled lightly and said, "Don't leave in such a hurry, Madara, you have taken good care of my body, so I have to pay back." Feng Ling raised his hands horizontally, and the Dao Dao Jade in his hand was launched, turning into a black stick and firmly fixed around it, opening a red transparent flame hexagonal enchantment in all directions, including most of the Konoha village. 6 red suns. This is an extremely advanced form of ninjutsu. It can neither allow outsiders to enter the interior of the form, nor allow the enemies inside the form to escape the form. Once they touch the walls of the form, they will be burned by flames. Madara could only stop, and even if he continued to walk, he would run into the barrier. It seems that it is not so easy for me to leave, so let me see what kind of power the Ju-Tails Zuri has. Madara turned around, and there was a desperate fight in his eyes at this moment. Feng Ling waved his hand and said lightly, "Sorry, your opponent is not me, but him." Feng Ling pointed to the side. Feng Yao opened his eyes. At this moment he has regained all his strength. It is time to end everything. Madara, I'm really sorry before. For some reason, I haven't been able to fight you with all my strength, but now it's different. Out of admiration for you, I'll use all my strength to kill you. Feng Yao said calmly, as if killing Madara was just a trivial matter. Ha ha ha, Banana laughed in anger. He said loudly, "Feng Yao, you are too arrogant. You were almost killed by me the first time we met, and after we fought several times, you only had the upper hand. Where did you come from? Confidence." Quote. Saying that, light blue chakra erupted from his body, and the huge complete body Susanoo appeared again. Madara stood on top of Susa's head, looking down at Feng Yao and the others. Chapter 202 _ Power. This barrier is probably the strongest barrier technique I've ever seen. It can't be broken at all, but I can take you out directly. Tobirama said solemnly, looking at the barrier around him. Well, it doesn't make sense to stay now. I didn't expect that it was the young man who absorbed the 10 tails. I'm afraid Madara will have a hard time winning. Hashima glanced at Madara's position with complicated eyes. Itachi was also staying with Hasuma, Kakashi and the others at the moment, with Sasuke who was unconscious in his arms. Whoosh. Finally found you, Kakashi, long time no see. Namikaze Minato came to the center of the three with an instant body technique, with Obito tucked around his waist. Teacher, why are you with Obito? Kakashi was surprised and happy, and hurried up to meet him. It was Naruto who saved Obito, and now he's no longer with Madara. I just brought him out. Minato put down Obito and patted his head. Obito saw Kakashi's complicated expression. He had done too many irreversible things, and instinctively wanted to avoid the other party. Kakashi seemed to see Obito's thoughts. He put his hand on Obito's shoulder and smiled. As long as you are alive, there will always be a way to make up for the mistakes you made. Obito was stunned for a moment, then closed his eyes, and responded in a hoarse voice. Perhaps, you've been waiting for so long, Kakashi. The first generation and the second generation have already been Watergate in Yudu, and they are also very fond of this young Hokage who has inherited the will of fire and is powerful. You have a very good son, 4th generation. Uchiha's evil kid still needs to pay more attention. It just so happens that the fourth generation will also fly the God of Thunder. Let's teleport everyone out together. The first generation is still so gentle, while the second generation is full of hostility and vigilance towards Obito. But the main thing is to get out of here as soon as possible. Minato and Tobirama immediately acted, and the decisive battle between Kazuya and Hasuma will start soon. Wood Done Wood Dragon Technique. Madara's hand continued to seal, and a wooden dragon emerged from the ground and wrapped around Susanoo's body, enhancing Susanoo's fighting power again. But Feng Yao didn't respond, as if he had been waiting for Madara to make a move. Feng Yao, how dare you look down on me so much? What kind of honor is he? But this might also be an opportunity to kill him. Madara frowned. Susanoo suddenly followed Madara and started to seal. Madara's chakra was about to be exhausted. This was his last chance. Madara was not holding back. Heavenly shocking star where? A shadow suddenly shrouded, and the sky at the top was unprotected, so the meteorite could fall. The speed of the meteorite is very fast. I am afraid that it will fall on this land soon, and this time the meteorite summoned by Madara is a group, and no matter who it is, it will be attacked indiscriminately. Come on, Kazuya. Madara controlled Susanoo and rushed over. The four swords of Susanoo were drawn, and the ground was trampled with a rumbling sound. Feng Ling, go and protect Orochimaru and the others. After Feng Yao explained a sentence, he took a deep breath, his hair began to turn white, and light blue eyeshadow appeared at the corners of his eyes. After a year, the immortal mode was finally available again. Shantha wouldn't true thousands of hands. Feng Yao folded his hands together, and a giant Buddha that was several times bigger than the entire Susanoo, sitting on the ground, rose from the ground. Behind the big Buddha is an innumerable number of huge arms, and Feng Yao has only really exerted the power of thousands of hands today, or even more. In terms of size, Susanoo is only about one head of the great Buddha. This is a technique, it's between the pillars. The moment Madara saw the thousands of hands, her pupils shrank to the size of silver needles. No one knew the power of this move better than him. Then Madara's face showed madness, and he roared, even if it is the power of the pillars, you will never try to defeat me, give me death. The sword in Susanoo's hand began to stretch, and the flame-like chakra surrounded the sword. Susanoo, Dance of the Four Swords. Four sword chi entwined with flames attacked the Buddha. But the big Buddha also changed. The red chakra began to wrap around the body of the big Buddha rapidly, and turned into an inch of armor to arm the big Buddha and every arm behind him. In an instant, the size of the big Buddha increased again. Pretty dress, thousands of hands. Feng Yao pushed with both hands, the big Buddha moved forward, and the 1,000 arms behind him also swayed and attacked forward in unison. Susanoo's saber aura probably only slashed a dozen of his arms, but he couldn't handle it, and was directly smashed to pieces. I don't believe it. How can you have this kind of power? Madara roared hoarsely. Susanoo jumped up and slashed towards Kazuya's position. Boom! What greeted him were hundreds of huge arms wrapped by Susanoo, which directly knocked Madara back to the ground. Madara's Susanoo shattered at a speed visible to the naked eye. The terrifying power split the earth hundreds of kilometers in a radius, especially in the central position. The huge cracks were like an abyss. Madara's body fell into the abyss, covered in scars and unable to fight anymore. Feng Yao jumped off the big Buddha, and the complete blue body Susanoo appeared. This is Susan after Obito's eyes gathered. He raised his head, looked at the dozen or so meteorites falling from the sky, and threw a black shuriken in his hands towards the meteorite. Kamatsu Shuriken. After the meteorite in the sky is hit, a huge space vortex will appear, absorbing the entire meteorite. Madara's heavenly obstruction Zhengxing Tuan was directly blocked by Feng Yao. The expressions on the faces of Hashima and others outside can be described as horror, and Feng Yao's strength before can be described as horror. What they have shown now is even more than their cognition, and the powerful Ruban has really failed. I don't know if this guy wins, whether it's a blessing or a curse. I always think he's more scary than Madara. Tobirama said solemnly. Anything has to be confirmed before we know it. Let's go in. I also want to take a look at Madara. Hasuma's eyes seemed a little sad. Oh, well, Aniki, big brother. In the abyss, Madara lay here motionless. His breath was already very weak, like a candle in the wind. Ah, it still failed after all. Unlimited monthly reading is just a little bit short. It's really helpless. How can such monsters appear in this world? Banana laughed self-deprecatingly. At this moment, a black hand stretched out from the ground and strangled Banban's neck. Madara, it's me who really feels helpless. You really disappointed me. You can't even solve the problem. My 1,000-year plan has been ruined, but at least you still have a role to play in reincarnation. Give it to me. Heiju finally revealed his true colors in front of Madara. Author's digression. I'm sorry, readers, I've had a cold for the past 2 days, and it's a little uncomfortable, so the update has come at night. It's really bad health, which has slowed down the speed a little bit. Haha, in my next life, I wish for a healthy body. The book is coming to an end, thank you. The new book should be released on the day it ends. Chapter 203-Blackout. Heiju's body began to wrap around with spots, and a half-black face appeared on his face. Heiju, you guy, is it true? Madara looked at Heiju on his body with difficulty. At this moment, he remembered what Feng Yao had told him all along, and he was finally convinced that Feng Yao did not lie to him. Yes, Madara, you have always been the chess piece I chose, the container I used to revive Kagaya. The infinite moon reading is not a technique that can bring eternal peace, but I have modified it to deceive you. I have been dormant with pains. It took thousands of years to find such a useful piece of yours, but unfortunately it still failed. Heiju said somewhat unwillingly. Thousands. Are you staying by my side just to induce me to complete the infinite monthly reading? Madara rolled her eyes with difficulty, looking at Heiju on her body. Yes, just like you use Obito, I am also using you. If there is no Feng Yao, my plan to resurrect Kagaya must have succeeded, but your failure is not a pity. He is not the existence of this planet. It is reasonable for you to lose, but I hate that I need to wait for a long time. Heiju is the consciousness of Kagaya Otsutsuki. With endless life, he doesn't mind lurking, waiting for the opportunity to resurrect Kagaya. He manipulated Madara's body, raised Madara's hand, aimed it at his eyes, and wanted to dig out the Samsara Eye, which would save a lot of time in the future. Samsara Eye was a necessary condition for resurrecting Kagaya. At this moment, Madara realized that the dreams he had been insisting were all lies, and his heart was ashes, and he didn't even stop Heiju's actions. From the point of view, Madara and Hasuma are both pursuing a path that can lead to eternal peace, but because of his strong personality, he does not want to live under the personality of Hasuma, which leads to serious differences in their paths. Madara always thought that she had chosen a more perfect path, but now everything is revealed, and the infinite month reading is just a pretense. Madara looked at the sky and murmured in a hoarse voice, Haxi hot mom, Hashiyama, maybe you were right. After speaking, Madara closed his eyes and waited for his end. In a trance, he seemed to hear Hashima's voice. Madara, hold on. What the hell is this black thing? Get me out of Madara's body. Madara opened his eyes suddenly, and saw Hasuma standing in front of him, Yuyin in his hand glaring at the black Jew on his body. Tobirama took Hasuma into the barrier, and after reaching Madara's side, he saw Kurohue preparing to take Madara's Samsara Eye. Hakuma immediately launched Mudun to stop Heiju's actions, and Heiju could only manipulate Madara's body to evade. Heiju was so angry that he was in a hurry now. Feng Yao could come down at any time, and in Heiju's eyes, Feng Yao was a member of the Otsutsukimoto family, and he would never let him go. Damn it, now if I take Model's eyes, Asura's reincarnation will definitely stop me, so I can only give up. Heiju decisively broke away from Madara's body and dived underground. Without Heiju's manipulation, Madara's body fell forward. Hashima hurried over to support Madara, and slowly flattened him down. At this moment, Heiju had turned into a pool of black liquid flowing towards the ground. Whoosh, whoosh. Several black sticks fell from the sky, fixing Xianju, who wanted to escape, in place. Xianju suddenly fell into an ice cellar. He knew that he had lost the chance to escape, and now he could only think about how to save his life in front of Feng Yao. Feng Yao's figure flashed and appeared directly beside Xianju, who was about to ask for mercy. But Feng Yao obviously didn't intend to listen anymore. He took Xianju with both hands, and chakra broke out with his arms, tearing Xianju in half. Ah! Xianju suddenly let out a heart-piercing roar. Different from ordinary people's attacks, Feng Yao joined the yin-yang escape and could attack directly and even kill Xianju. No, Master Feng Yao, I offended you before because I didn't know Taishan. I am willing to help you to let the divine tree bear fruit again and hand it over to the Otsutsukimoto family. Please spare my life. Xianju knew that what the family cared about most was the fruit of the divine tree, and wanted to rely on this to let Feng Yao spare his life. In this way, there is still a chance to resurrect Kagaya. If he dies, then there is really no chance at all. Oh, that's right, then it seems that I really want to thank you. Feng Yao pulled the only half of Xianju in front of him, smiled slightly, and seemed to be persuaded. With your current strength, no one in the entire ninja world is your opponent. When the time comes, you will treat everyone as nourishment to the sacred tree. I believe it will be soon. Xianju said and slowly stopped. Because he found that there was only cold killing intent in Feng Yao's eyes, and the other party didn't plan to let him go. You bastard, Xianju finally cursed. The body was like paper. It was torn into a dozen pieces by Feng Yao, and the whole body was only the size of a palm. Feng Yao held a small piece of black liquid that was still wriggling, and sneered, the vitality is quite tenacious, I will give you the last ride. After finishing speaking, a begging jade appeared beside him. Feng Yao stuffed Xianju's body inside, and then threw the begging jade to the sky. After flying to the point of being invisible, a dazzling light appeared from the sky. Boom! The only little highway left was also turned into nothingness in a huge explosion. The biggest conspirator in Hokage, who calculated the first dutiful son of the entire ninja world, died in the hands of Feng Yao. His death also means that Kagaya will never have the chance to be resurrected in the future. Tobarama looked at Feng Yao cautiously. He had just heard the conversation between Feng Yao and Xianju, and he was even more suspicious of Feng Yao's identity. Feng Yao, who are you? Tobarama asked. Feng Yao first glanced at Madara, who had lost his combat power, then turned to Tobarama and said, it doesn't matter who I am, what matters is that I stopped Madara, right? In short, I'm not your enemy. After solving Kurohue and Madara, and the now-controlled shinobi village, the day when Feng Yao achieves peace is close at hand. Just when Tobarama was about to say something, Kazaya flashed over Tobarama and came to Hashima. Hashirama looked up at Feng Yao, but didn't do anything, because he knew that if Feng Yao had any thoughts, he couldn't stop him. Madara reluctantly moved his eyes, watching his opponent defeating him in front of him. He sighed, Feng Yao, it looks like you were right. He was stunned for a moment when he looked at the lost face in front of him, and then suddenly realized, it seems that Xianju has already said everything, so there is no need to kill you. If Madara still insists on reading Infinite Monthly, then Feng Yao will never keep him, because if Madara insists on a belief, as long as he is given a chance, he will do everything possible to make a comeback. Now that Xianju takes the initiative to explain everything, it is not necessary to solve the spot. If he can convince the other party to use it for himself, it will be a better choice. Chapter 204-Persuasion Spot. Feng Yao squatted down, looked at Madara who seemed to have given up everything in front of him, and said, you don't have to do this. Black Ju is the consciousness created by Kagaya Otsutsuki, the ancestor of chakra, and even the ancestor who founded your Uchiha clan. Indra was also instigated by him, which led to the never-ending war between Xianju and the Uchiha clan. Madara didn't answer, just lay there, looking at the blue sky. His pupils shrank after hearing this. He obviously did not expect that the black guy had that kind of identity. So the war was provoked by that guy named Xianju, and Madara was also deceived by him, didn't he? Hasuma asked, grabbing Feng Yao's hand. Feng Yao calmly glanced at Hashirama and said, not all of them are like this. In fact, even if there is no black Jew, I think wars will still break out in the ninja world, but the form is different. Fighting with each other is often for various reasons, for profit, hatred, and even peace. Quote. Hasuma sighed and said slowly, that's why I look forward to the day when people will understand each other, and there will be no fights because of interests and hatred. Feng Yao snorted coldly. Hashiyama, between shinobi villages, between countries, how can they understand each other? Look at the world after you died. You should understand, this kind of peace is fundamentally invalid, then a so-called peace treaty is only valid for your life. Quote. Hashimama lowered his head once more decadently. Oh, it sounds like you have some great ideas. I really want to hear it. Tobarama couldn't get used to Feng Yao's bossy appearance, so he spoke directly. Feng Yao didn't turn his head, but replied mysteriously, only when 5 countries use one brain to think and do things and obey one will, the ninja world will be peaceful and will not fight with each other. Madara finally had a reaction at this time. He turned to look at Feng Yao with a little surprise in his eyes. He seemed to want to say something, but the injury was too severe, so he couldn't open his mouth. Feng Yao smiled slightly. Tobarama also felt that Feng Yao's words meant something. Just when he was about to ask something, Feng Yao began to seal the seal, which immediately aroused the vigilance of Tobarama. Seeing Tobarama's reckless actions, Hasuma's eyes sharpened, and he shouted, Tobarama, don't move. The place where Tobarama was standing shattered directly. Tobarama had to put away the kunai angrily, and said helplessly, Aniki, big brother, sometimes I really wonder if you are my brother. Why are you always helping me? Outsiders. He was a little embarrassed to be complained by his younger brother, so he could only cough dryly and explain. Feng Yao's chakrali is not malicious, he seems to want to save Madara. Tobarama scolded her mother directly in her heart, just freckled. This is not malicious, save Madara and continue to destroy the world. Fantasy. Dew of life. An illusory butterfly emerged from Feng Yao's body, and a drop of green liquid dripped onto Ban's body. This is the wet bone forest immortal technique that Feng Yao practiced in the past. As long as a person has a breath, he can save the other party. Madara's body recovered quickly, and even chakra began to recover. In the blink of an eye, aside from the broken arm, Madara couldn't see a single scar on his body. Feng Yao looked at Madara's broken arm and pondered for a moment, then stretched out his right hand and placed it on Madara's shoulder. Yang Dun was exerted, and this arm was added to Madara again. That's great, Madara, you won't die now. Hasuma looked happy when Madara was healed. Tobarama held his forehead angrily, not understanding how he could have such a stupid big brother. Madara looked at Hashirama with a complicated look. It had been a long time since the two of them sat together like this. Since leaving Konoha, he and Hasuma have only had a fight left, but in the end, he has ended up in vain. Feng Yao, why do you want to save me? Aren't you afraid that I will continue to be your enemy? Don't forget, I killed you once with my own hands. Madara didn't talk to Hakuma for the first time, but turned her head. Asked Feng Yao. The fact that it kills me is too small. Maybe you don't know that I have already died once. It's not hatred for me. Let's talk here. Feng Yao's left eye rotated slightly, and Yudu instantly activated. Madara did not resist, and was directly pulled into Yudu's space. Here, Feng Yao can talk about his plans with confidence. What did you want to bring me here? Madara glanced at Feng Yao calmly. He didn't think Feng Yao saved him just because he simply wanted to use illusions on himself. Feng Yao said with a smile, Madara, in fact, you should be able to know, I just hinted to you another path to peace. I want to invite you to join me and realize this ideal with me. Of course you can also choose so sad to die. Hee, let the 5 major countries think with one brain. How can this be achieved? Do you rule by force? Even if you are really strong, it will bring resistance over time, and your lifespan is equally limited. Spot didn't refuse the first time. Instead he shook his head. During the time he was alive, he had seen through too many causes and effects in the world, and he had been betrayed and deceived by Xianju. He no longer believed that there was a way to achieve peace in this world. Who said that I have to rely on force to stop the war between the 5 major countries? The choice of war between countries lies in the shadow of each village. Considering the development or safety of their own villages, they will start wars against other countries, but if the 5 major countries will start wars, the country's shadows all listen to me alone. Feng Yao's tone paused, and Ban turned to look over. He wondered, do you want to use illusion to control them? This may be a method, but after a long time, it will definitely be seen or made mistakes. After all, it is not the way. Feng Yao interrupted impatiently. It's not an illusion, I'll tell you directly. Mara, 3 of the 5 hidden villages are under my control, and the remaining 2 are under my control. Within a month, it will also be under my control. At that time, I will make the world run in a peaceful way according to my own will, but this is not the end, because in the near future, there will be people from other planets. To this land, I need your strength to resist them. Madara frowned. To be honest, although what Feng Yao said is indeed a method, but Uchiha Madara has been subservient to others, so there is still a kind of resistance. Looking at Ban's frowning brows, Feng Yao knew that for the arrogant Ban, being his subordinate was indeed unacceptable to him, so he decided to make the next big news. Madara, let me show you another world, and then you will believe that what I said is true. With a wave of Feng Yao's hand, Yudu's space instantly became the place where Feng Yao lived in his previous life. Chapter 205-6 Paths Immortals. Outside the barrier, Kakashi and the others were waiting for the news inside. The 4th generation did not take anyone to continue in. After all, it is still very dangerous inside at the moment, and it is a better choice to stay outside. I don't know what happened to the 1st generation of adults, have they met Naruto? Minato was eager to see what happened to the current Naruto. Even if Naruto becomes stronger than himself, fathers will still have an instinctive worry. Don't worry, Naruto will be fine, I can guarantee that. A cold voice reached Minato's ear. Turning his head to look, Sasuke has woken up at this moment. For some reason, Minato feels that Sasuke at this moment is so mysterious. Ah, thank you, are you my son's friend? Hey, your eyes. Minato just said hello to Sasuke, and suddenly he took a breath, because he found that Sasuke's eyes had changed at the moment. The left eye became the eye of reincarnation, and there were also 6 black Guyu rotating in the eye. The power bestowed by the 6 Path Immortals, the 6 Go Jade Samsara Eye. Sasuke, how are your eyes? Itachi was also surprised, but he saw that his younger brother should have gained some kind of powerful power. Sasuke put his hand on Itachi's head and said gently, sorry, brother, I already know everything, so this will help you solve the illusion. Speaking of Luguyu's Samsara eyes flashing, the other gods on Itachi were forcibly removed. Itachi regained his true freedom. He looked down at his body and said incredulously, it's incredible, this technique can also be lifted. Sasuke, how did you do it? Sasuke smiled. Let's talk about this later, now I have more important things to do. You stay here, I will be back soon. After finishing speaking, Sasuke looked into the enchantment, and Tiansho activated his power, directly entering the enchantment, and ran towards the location of Feng Yao Chakra. During the time he was in a coma, he saw 6 Path Immortals from the spiritual world, and learned many things about Feng Yao. After Yuya died, Chakra still floated around in the ninja world, so many worlds couldn't hide it from him. Including Feng Yao secretly manipulating the 5 hidden villages, and controlling his brother Itachi, he knew all about the plan to achieve peace in the ninja world. After accepting the power given by the 6 Path Immortals, he decided to stop Feng Yao. On the other side, in Naruto's spiritual world, he also encountered 6 Path Immortals. My name is Yu Yi, the founder of the ninja sect, also known as the 6 Path Immortal. Yu Yi looked at Naruto in front of him with a majestic face. What? Are you the legendary fairy that the lecherous fairy said? Why are you here? Oh right, where is this place? After Naruto was surprised, he turned to look around. This is your spiritual world, Naruto. No, my son, Asura, I am very happy that the cycle of fate for generations has finally been solved by you. Six-Path Immortal looked at Naruto with relief. What Ashura, what is the reincarnation of fate? Can you put it in a simpler way, old man? Naruto looked at the Six-Path Immortals with a complicated look, which was obviously beyond his understanding. Therefore, Yui could only explain to Naruto about his two sons and the reincarnation of the generations. So that's the way it is, ha ha ha, Sasuke and I have a very good relationship, and there is absolutely no intention of killing each other. Naruto showed a sunny smile. Yui nodded lightly and continued, now I want to give you one thing to do to stop a person. Naruto's face also became serious when he heard this. I know Madara wants to become the 10-tailed Jushiri and perform illusions on the whole world. I will definitely stop him. No. Yui paused for a while and continued. Madara has been stopped now, he has been defeated, Feng Yao's incarnation has become the 10-tailed person Zuri, I want you to stop him. Naruto nodded like the wave drum. So that's how it is, Feng Yao has become the 10-tailed human pillar force. Feng Yao has become the human pillar force. Naruto finally realized the key to the world and jumped up, then he was stunned for a while. Putting his hands behind his head, he continued, that doesn't seem to be a problem, does Feng Yao also want to use infinite moon reading? Yui shook his head. That's not true, but he is also an unstable being, and the tailed beasts are all independent individuals with life. I believe you can understand it after you have had a relationship with Juwei, don't you want to save them? Naruto hesitated for a moment, but quickly shook his head again. I believe Feng Yao is not the kind of person who would abuse tailed beasts. He also stopped Madara with us this time. I believe he has changed. Hey, you're still too naive, Naruto, I've completely seen this person in the days when I was wandering in the ninja world. Although it's not completely bad, he took the wrong path. Six Paths Immortal staff waved. What Feng Yao has experienced flashed in front of Naruto like a revolving lantern. Naruto took 2 steps back in disbelief. Is this all true? Feng Yao's purpose is to replace the shadows of the 5 major villages, so as to realize his own peace plan. He killed so many people for this. Quote. Yes, Naruto, do you still think it's safe for him to have such power now? If he changes or something doesn't go his way, what terrible thing do you think he'll do? So I hope you can stop him, at least seal the incarnation of the 10-tailed pillar power. Immortal Six Paths was extremely serious, staring at Naruto with his firm eyes. It was difficult for Naruto to accept such a big message for a while, unable to make up his mind, and his heart was struggling. Ninetales' voice came from the bottom of my heart. Naruto, the old man of the 6 Paths is right, the 10 tails are too dangerous, and after the beasts of our tails are absorbed, they are completely out of the control of our own consciousness, and our power is arbitrarily manipulated by human Zuli. I'm sure my other half and 8 other guys are also very unhappy. Hearing Ninetales' persuasion, Naruto's eyes gradually became firm. He raised his head and said to Yui, I will stop Feng Yao, but I will also persuade him to stop him from using this method. It will also let Feng Yao handle it properly. Quote. Six Paths Immortal nodded. I am very relieved to have your words. You have always been a child of what you say, so let me help you too. You and Sasuke will stop Feng Yao, or convince him after defeating him. After the 6 Paths Immortal finished speaking, he stretched out his right hand, put it on Naruto's shoulder, and gave the other half of his power to Naruto. Chapter 206-New Road. Inside the barrier, Madara slowly opened her eyes. At this moment, his eyes were full of ambition again, because Feng Yao took him to see a different world, where Madara found her new goal. The passage of time in Yudu is different. Although he and Feng Yao have been together for a long time, in reality, it is just a snap of a finger. Madara looked at Feng Yao frantically and said, You really surprised me, Feng Yao. To be honest, I really want to go to those worlds and have a good look. In return, I am willing to help you achieve your ideal. Madara, what's wrong with you? What did Feng Yao tell you? Hasuma saw that his Madara seemed to be a different person for a short time, and he couldn't help but wonder what kind of ecstasy soup Feng Yao had poured into Madara. As for Tobarama, he still looked at the two of them cautiously. In his eyes, Feng Yao and Madara were both heinous terrorists, and when they were together, they would have similar smells. Madara put away the frenzy in his eyes, turned his head to look at the column, and said in a flat tone, "It's nothing, it's just that I now understand how small the world I know is, and there are many means and ways to achieve peace. I would also like to thank you from time to time, whether it is in the position of an opponent or a former comrade in arms. Without you, I would not have been able to get to this point, and I will not be here in the future." Quote. After speaking, Madara lightly smiled and stretched out his hand towards the column, just like the scene when the two major families shook hands and made peace. Looking at the spot in front of him, he seemed to have returned to the previous spot. His eyes were a little red, and he also stretched out his hand to hold the other's palm tightly. At this moment, the two of them released their past suspicions, but the difference is that Madara has a new path. Feng Yao smiled softly next to him, and he took a look at the planet he lived in his previous life. Madara's vision was once again greatly expanded, and he saw how people in this world are trying their best to maintain peace during wars. I saw all kinds of strange things and witnessed the development of the world of Naruto. Madara's three views have been completely changed, and permanent peace is indeed difficult to achieve for a while, but as long as it is maintained and promoted by a strong enough will, peace can go on for a long time, and Feng Yao has completed most of the premise needed for this maintenance and promotion. In the end, Madara decided to help Feng Yao, not only for the peace of the ninja world, but also attracted by the charm of the alien planet shown by Feng Yao, and he really wanted to set foot on that land one day. Whoosh! There was a sound of breaking through the air, and Feng Ling brought Orochimaru and the others to the ground. Now Feng Ling has absorbed the 10 tails to become the human pillar force, and has become one of the strongest beings in the ninja world. Everyone looked sideways, but Feng Ling didn't care about this, but went straight to Feng Yao's side. Ontology, I want to tell you, a chakra just broke into my enchantment. It seems to be Sasuke's, but it seems to be a little different. It was the 4th generation who brought him in to find Naruto. I remember that he seemed to be in the annex before he fell, so he should be fine. Feng Yao waved his hand, not paying attention to what the avatar said. After all, he didn't think about the appearance of the 6 Path Immortals, but simply thought that the other party was worried about Naruto's safety, so he entered the enchantment. Now that the war has come to an end, Konoha village is seriously damaged. However, the villagers took refuge underground, and there was not much damage to the personnel. The other 3 major countries, in addition to Shadow, also brought a few elite teams to help Konoha, but at that time the battle in Konoha village was almost over, so they didn't suffer any damage. Compared to the casualties of hundreds of thousands of people who started the war, this is already very good. By the time Konoha village had cleaned up the battlefield, it was almost a certainty that Tsunade would take over as Hokage. Feng Yao from Cheyenne village has sent Gaara, Scorpion and others to deal with them. They are all ninjas from Cheyenne village. I believe they can still deal with Luasha and stabilize Cheyenne village. In this way, all ninja villages are all under the control of Feng Yao. Thinking of this, Feng Yao stood up and decided to clean up the battlefield first. But looking at the surrounding deep abyss, cracked ground, and countless pieces of gravel and wood, Feng Yao was a little embarrassed for a while, and it was easy to destroy and difficult to build. Feng Ling said in a timely manner, "The main body, let me restore Konoha a little. After all, you fought with Madara, and the impact on the terrain is still not small. You should do more important things." Feng Ling is now a 10-tailed man, and repairing the terrain is a piece of cake for him. Feng Yao smiled and nodded, just about to speak. Suddenly his face changed, and a ninja knife with thunder and lightning attacked Feng Yao. Click. Feng Yao's body crooked to hide, and most of the blade body sank directly into the ground. Who dares to make a sneak attack? Duoyu was also taken aback, and immediately stood in front of Feng Yao, her beautiful eyes glowing red, staring at the surroundings. But the next moment, a figure appeared directly beside the blade. If anyone notices, a piece of gravel next to the ninja sword is missing. This is the celestial hand power used by Sasuke. Within a specific range, the caster can instantly switch positions with any target physical body. Sasuke pulled out his ninja sword and attacked Feng Yao's back again. Thunderbolt Chidori Blade. The Lei Dun chakra, which is constantly beating on the blade, stimulates the power and sharpness of the sword, and can even paralyze the opponent. His movements are very smooth, there is not even a slight pause in the middle, which makes people feel pleasing to the eye. Feng Yao turned around to protect Duo Yu, and thought in the center of his mind, Shen Luo Tianzheng. A huge repulsive force appeared from Feng Yao, and under the guidance of Feng Yao, it only targeted Sasuke. Sasuke only felt his knife hit a block of extremely strong chi. The terrifying repulsion directly bounced off the blade and the chakra attached to it. Sasuke was bounced hundreds of meters and fell deeply into the wall. Seeing Sasuke being thrown away, Feng Yao hesitated for a moment, and said in doubt, "Why are you attacking me, Sasuke? The war is over, I have stopped Madara, and he will not be attacking Konoha, of course from now on, so do I." While talking, Feng Yao looked at Madara, the other party nodded immediately, and now Madara was completely on Feng Yao's side. "Don't be in a hurry, Uchiha boy, have you misunderstood something?" Hasuma also jumped up and asked. Sasuke climbed out of the deep pit, and now Feng Yao is completely full, and he took a lot of chakra from the avatar, so even a Shen Luo Tianzheng, the power is not trivial. Sasuke coughed out a mouthful of blood and said, "No, Feng Yao, I'm here to stop you. I already know everything you've done to the 5 major villages, why wouldn't you do something to Konoha, you're lying children." Everyone was shocked, especially Orochimaru and others. They can be said to be very good at keeping information secret. They don't understand how Sasuke knew about it. Chapter 207 Sasuke thinks he can do it again. Feng Ling even frowned and said coldly, "Sasuke seems to know, do you want to get rid of him? The main body, this step has come, it can't be because of him." Feng Yao's eyes also gloomy. He just noticed Sasuke's eyes, and his left eye has become a 6-go jade reincarnation eye. "Don't worry, is the power of the 6 paths immortal. 80% of the time, it is the 6 paths old man who guides Sasuke to fight against me. It will really cause trouble for people. I am afraid that Naruto will also encounter the same situation. It seems that I still have a battle to fight." Feng Yao sighed inwardly. Hakuma on the side was still offline and didn't quite understand what was going on, but Tobirama smelled some conspiracy. Except for Sasuke, Hashima and Tobirama, who were reincarnated in the scene, the rest are Feng Yao people, so even if they are heard, there is no need to worry too much. Feng Yao turned his head and smiled at Hashirama. "Master first generation, you shouldn't be involved in the next thing, so it's better for me to send you back to the Pure Land first. Feng Ling, you can deal with it." For ordinary people, there is basically no other way to remove the art of reincarnation from the dirty earth, except that the caster himself voluntarily removes it, or the reincarnated person still retains his own personality, and his willpower is strong enough to break free from the bondage and ascend to heaven. But there is one exception, that is the 6 paths immortal, who can only summon the undead of the Pure Land. Of course, the current Feng Ling can do it too, releasing the psychic contract between the two. Feng Ling nodded and simply made a few seals. Immediately, the bodies of the first generation and the second generation began to emit light, and then the earthy body disintegrated, and the soul flew out of the body. Tobirama stared at Feng Yao fiercely, and said a few cruel words. "Boy, no matter what you want to do, I will look at you. If you do anything to hurt Konoha, I will crawl out to deal with you even if you crawl." Feng Yao rolled his eyes, waved his right hand, and an invisible palm appeared, slapped Tobirama directly, leaving only a beautiful curve. Hashimoto smiled bitterly. He first glanced at Feng Yao with a complicated look, and then moved his gaze to Madara. Hasuma murmured, I'll be there waiting for you Madara, witness the future of the ninja world for me and tell me. Madara was stunned for a moment, then took a deep breath and said to Hashirama, I didn't want to find you so soon, you have to be alone for a while. The two looked at each other and smiled, and finally Hashimoto returned to the Pure Land. Next, it's time to deal with Sasuke. Sasuke was holding a ninja sword in his right hand at the moment, staring at Feng Yao. Feng Yao's eyes flickered, and his voice was low, I think you should have met the Six Path Immortals. I advise you, even with the help of the Six Path Immortals, you are not my opponent. Sasuke's mouth curved into a smile, and then he put on a good posture and said, oh. Who said I was alone? This expression and posture really need to be played more and more, and after obtaining the 6-Go Jade Samsara Eye, Sasuke feels that he can do it again. As soon as the voice fell, Naruto wearing a golden chakra jacket appeared. A golden figure flashed by and stood beside Sasuke. Naruto also had 9 jades floating behind him, and he also held a black stick of the jade in his hand. Waiting for a long time, Sasuke. Naruto glanced at Sasuke, smiled, and stood side by side with the other party. No, Naruto, it's just right. The goal of the defense now is to seal off the 10-tailed Manzuli. It's definitely not enough for me alone. Are you ready? Sasuke said solemnly. Naruto took a deep look at Feng Yao, raised his right hand, looked at a mark of the sun, and nodded firmly, of course, come on, Sasuke. Sasuke raised his left hand, and a mark of the moon appeared in his palm, rushing past like Naruto. Naruto also raised his right palm, the mark of the sun appeared in the palm, and pressed Sasuke. Then Sasuke's left eye flashed purple light, ready to activate the left eye pupil technique. He coldly snorted towards Feng Yao. Just let you see, the power of my left eye, you will know soon whether we are your opponent or not. Heavenly Hand Power. Feng Ling, who was standing next to him, was directly exchanged, and the person instantly appeared in the center of Naruto and Zuo. The Heavenly Hand Force is immune to almost all ninjutsu, immortal arts, and taijutsu, and the object being cast cannot avoid the effect of the Heavenly Hand Force, even if it is the wind spirit that has become the 10-tailed human pillar force. Very good, I can succeed. Sasuke had already shown a triumphant smile, and Naruto's eyes also showed joy. At the beginning, the two were going to use Ludao Earth Blast Star to seal Feng Ling, so as to let the tailed beasts get out of control, and then they were trying to deal with Feng Yao. But in the middle of the two people's attack, Feng Ling's face did not panic at all. Yellow Spring Hirazaka. It fell with a quiet voice. Sasuke was barely able to touch Feng Ling's hand, a black space door appeared in front of him, and then the whole person rushed in directly with inertia. Snapped. The result was that only Naruto slapped Feng Ling on the shoulder, without the cooperation of yin power, which was no different from ordinary slaps. The scene suddenly fell into an eerie silence. A few dozen seconds later. I said Naruto, can you take your hand away first? From a certain point of view, I am also Feng Yao, do you just want to seal me? Feng Ling was the first to break the silence. Now that Sasuke wasn't around, Naruto could only cough twice, let go of his hand and step back. What do you think of Sasuke? Where is he now? Naruto looked around, but instead of answering Feng Ling's question, he asked Sasuke. He was just transferred to another place by me. Naruto, do you know how difficult it is to create the 10-tailed human pillar force, and how helpful it is to me? My efforts were almost destroyed by you. Feng Yao said unhappily. The 10-tailed pillar power is too important, and he is also the incarnation of Feng Yao, and many things that Feng Yao can't do can be handed over to him. And in the war against the future, the 2 tails pillar force must exist. Naruto's expression became solemn, and he said slowly, I already know it all. The old grandfather Ludao said that the 10 tails are the incarnation of violence and disaster. Those who possess this power will become conceited. If the power is concentrated in only one person, before long out of control and just thinking about power. Quote. Feng Yao snorted coldly. You are really guided by his ideas, just because the Six Paths Immortal is a legendary figure, so do you believe everything he says? Of course not. Naruto smiled bitterly. I just think what Grandpa Ludao said makes sense. Too much power will make you lost. You may not realize how terrible you have done. Maybe you are for peace. But there is no need to choose such a path. Quote. Listening to Naruto's words, Feng Yao's face was expressionless. Orochimaru and the others also had different expressions, showing complicated expressions. There are contempt, sneer, and exclamation, but most of them feel that Naruto is naive. Chapter 208-Super Earth Blast. Madara felt a lot more. From Naruto, he seemed to see the shadow of Hashima in the past, and this child was better than Hashima back then. But as a result, after so many years, the world that Hashima hopes has still not been achieved, there is still no ideal change, and there is still constant war between countries. Okay, after all that said, you still want to stop me, don't you? Come with me, as long as you defeat me, the two tails will give you both hands, and if you lose, look at me honestly. Change the world. Feng Yao didn't want to escape with Naruto, and directly opened Wonquan Hirazaka. Feng Yao turned around and walked in. Naruto hesitated for a moment, and followed in. When the others wanted to enter, they were stopped by Feng Ling. Feng Ling said slowly, the main body and their battle are too noisy, you can do your own thing, and wait patiently for our good news. After finishing speaking, Feng Ling also drilled in together. After everyone heard it, they could only give up and walked in the direction of Konoha. The place Feng Yao chose was the sea area near the floating city, where even if there was a lot of noise, it would not have any effect. A figure can still be vaguely seen swimming in the ocean. It is Sasuke, who was thrown by Feng Yao with Yunchang Hirazaka. After he came, he landed directly in the ocean. Although he could also use Susanoo to fly, it would take too much chakra. After all, I don't know what Feng Yao is planning, so Sasuke chose the simplest way, swimming. Well, the door of space has opened again. Is Feng Yao coming? Sasuke suddenly became alert when he saw the black hole that suddenly appeared in the sky, and his left eye was even ready to activate Heavenly Hand power at any time. Sure enough, Feng Yao came out first, and then he also saw Naruto. Naruto found Sasuke at the first time, and rushed towards him quickly. Sasuke, are you okay? Are you injured? Naruto asked with concern. I'm fine. What's important is Feng Yao's business. What is he planning to do with him here? Sasuke didn't say anything, and changed the subject directly. Feng Yao heard the words and smiled in his heart. From a certain point of view, Sasuke's fights with people will not be sloppy. He turned his head to Feng Ling and said, I don't need you to take action for the time being. Lend me some of your chakra. Feng Ling next to him shook his head. What is mine is yours, why not borrow it or not, you can take most of it. After he finished speaking, he clapped one hand on Feng Yao's body and gave almost all of the chakras of the 10 tails to Feng Yao. If it was an ordinary physique, it might have exploded now, but Feng Yao's free-spirited mind and body also played a huge role at this moment, perfectly accepting this chakra. Feng Yao made a soothing sound, which was the most chakra he had ever done. Feng Ling on the side touched his nose and said helplessly, why do you feel like I'm a tool person? Feng Yao spit out a sigh of turbidity again, got used to the current state, folded his hands together, and the immortal mode turned on instantly, telling Sasuke what he was doing with his actions. Spiritual law, white excitement technique. 2 long dragons composed of white liquid spit out from their mouths, and kept getting bigger and bigger, revolving around the Dragon Ball constantly, and when they flew to Sasuke, they emitted strong light and burst. The power this time was several times more terrifying than before, and the surrounding seawater seemed to be boiling, rolling and surging. Naruto and Sasuke were both caught off guard by the dazzling light and the bone friction caused by the vibration of the air. Sasuke resisted the discomfort and used his left eye to activate Susanoo. The purple chakra quickly formed Susanoo, wrapping him and Naruto firmly, and the complete Susan was isolated from the outside air vibration and strong light. Only then did Naruto and Sasuke have a chance to breathe, and they got up and stared at Feng Yao not far away. A complete body of Shuzuo. Feng Yao's eyes flashed. He quickly thought of what to do, and waved his palm lightly. A door of space appeared beside Feng Yao, and at the same time another door opened in Susanoo's body. Feng Yao's hands were sealed, and a huge black ball was condensed in his hand, and he threw it directly in his hand. Not good. Naruto's heart sank when he saw Feng Yao's actions. The next moment, the black ball appeared in the body of Susanoo, the complete body. Sasuke wanted to use his heavenly hand to transfer it immediately, but the black ball split directly and became several smaller black balls. Sasuke could only give up this plan, but a strong gravitational force had erupted on the black ball, and this gravitational force had destroyed Susanoo from the inside. Feng Yao maintained the posture of the seal, and said word by word, Super Earth Blast Star. The difference between this trick and the ordinary terrestrial star is that several terrestrial stars are created at the same time, and when they are not fully formed, they are bundled together with a wooden scorpion to form a super huge meteorite. Moreover, with the blessing of Feng Yao's physique, the power will be even more unstoppable. The huge attraction of the black ball's explosion made Susa a little shattered in a moment, and it is no joke that the cores of more than a dozen terrestrial stars are destroyed from the inside. Sasuke knew that if he continued, the gravitational force would become stronger and stronger, and when Susaichi ended, he and Naruto would be absorbed on the spot. Can only choose to lift Susan. Without Susan's obstruction, this gravity directly shrouded Mingzuo and the two. The two of them leaned back directly, and Naruto responded in a timely manner, creating a plane with the Daoyu, erecting it and blocking it behind him. This was not the first time to be sucked in, but soon encountered new troubles. The increase in gravity caused the surrounding seawater to be constantly tilted, and water walls of hundreds of meters or even kilometers could be seen everywhere, like a tsunami, with choppy waves. The boulders hidden in the bottom of the sea were sucked up, along with the huge trees made by Mudden, which kept smashing at Naruto and Sasuke. Kurama. Naruto roared loudly, surrounded by golden chakra, and directly entered the mode of tail beast transformation. The huge body stepped on the sea, using claws to grab the sea with chakra, and the other 9 tails stretched out to protect Sasuke. Sasuke, get ready, we're going to rush out. Naruto roared, and 9 tails started running on the sea. To say that running is more like walking, because of gravity, their speed is really not fast. And when the boulders on the bottom of the sea are absorbed, will they still hit the tailed beast, and the trees that appear from time to time greatly affect the speed of the 9 tails. Ow! 9 tails let out an angry roar, but the footsteps did not stop at all, still moving forward. Wizard Susanoo, _ Sasuke's left eye flashed, and Susa was activated again, but this time it was wrapped around Kyuubi's body to help him resist damage. The purple armor fit perfectly on the body and tail of the 9 tails, and it looked majestic. The moment the rock hit the armor, it shattered directly, and the trees that emerged from the bottom of the sea were also torn off by the 9 tails. Well done, Sasuke, Kurama rushed out in one breath. Naruto took a breath, and the body of the 9 tails also roared. 2 people and 1 beast, they tried their best to burst out all their chakras, and only then ran out of the range of the super Earth explosion star at an extremely fast speed. Chapter 209 _ Don't Hold Back. The rubble absorbed by more than a dozen terrestrial stars, combined with the cooperation of Mudun, the diameter of this super meteorite is far more than a kilometer, and it can't even see the end from Naruto's point of view. The huge shadow formed by the meteorite in the sky was like a stone pressing on his heart. Naruto swallowed, even though he was quite mentally prepared. Feng Yao's strength was beyond his imagination. Seeing that something was wrong with Naruto, Sasuke immediately shouted, Naruto, Naruto, don't be deceived by the surface. He is not as powerful as he imagined. He is trying to disintegrate our confidence through this kind of attack. Naruto Daigo poured out his head. His eyes sharpened again. He spit out a turbid breath and said, Sorry, Sasuke, Sasuke, let you worry. Let's go together, use our strength to stop him. was a smile on Sasuke's mouth, his hands clasped together, and a sword of Susanoo appeared on Kyuubi's waist. Go on. Kyuubi pulled out the sword of Susanoo, and the sword energy split the sea surface into a vacuum area several tens of meters deep, and then rushed towards Feng Yao's position. Feng Yao looked at the two people coldly. With a wave of his palm, the meteorite formed by the super Earth exploding star smashed towards the two of them. Even the nine-tailed body looked so small in front of the meteorite, and the meteorite's huge range made them unable to escape the meteorite's attack even if they tried their best to run. Naruto, the meteorite is too huge, we can't dodge it. The only way now is to use my heavenly hand to move to the top of the meteorite, and then we should be able to escape by climbing up the meteorite. Sasuke wrinkled said with a brow. Naruto glanced at the corner of the meteorite with a solemn expression. Maybe we don't have to do that, let me try it. After he finished speaking, his hands formed a seal. The technique of multiple shadows. Bang, bang, bang. Hundreds of Naruto's shadow clones instantly appeared around, all of them wearing golden chakra coats. The tailed beast jade began to condense in his hand, and chakra of the wind attribute was injected. Tailed beast jade Dolian spiral shuriken. The chakra of the wind attribute changes into a sharp blade that rotates on the periphery, while the tailed beast jade inside is compressed into a small purple-black ball. Whoosh, whoosh. Boom. Hundreds of tailed beast jade spiral shuriken slammed into the corner of the meteorite, and the meteorite at the corner immediately turned into powder in the violent explosion and wind escape, which also caused the lower left corner of the meteorite to begin to fall apart. This made a little loophole in the meteorite's attack, and of course Naruto did not intend to miss this opportunity. He said loudly, Sasuke, go over there before you can. Sasuke's left eye flashed purple light, heavenly hand power, activated instantly, came to the lower left corner of the meteorite, and looked at Naruto's position again, and transferred Naruto in the same way. The super meteorite just passed by the two of them. Boom. As the saying goes, a stone stirs up thousands of waves, let alone a meteorite. The sea surface is centered on a meteorite. Surrounded by tens of thousands of meters of waves, they shot towards Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto protected Sasuke behind him, and the Gudauyu turned into a semicircle to cover himself. But the huge force also made them retreat hundreds of meters. Feng Yao's eyes showed some surprise. He thought that Naruto and Sasuke in this period should be weaker. This move should be almost the same, but he didn't expect it to stick to it. From the perspective of time, Feng Yao has only traveled for about 2 years, and Naruto and Sasuke are not at their peak. From the perspective of growth, Sasuke has not been transplanted into the eternal kaleidoscope, and Naruto has not obtained the chakra of other tailed beasts. Feng Yao reconsidered the strength of the two. It is actually easy to defeat them, but the most important thing is to convince them. Otherwise, sooner or later, he will use that set of mutually understanding theories to convince himself, or continue to listen to the old man's words and go against himself. However, if Feng Yao continued to do it, he might not be able to hold back his strength. Naruto, I was just warming up just now, are you sure you don't stop now? I won't keep my hands in the next attack, you are likely to die in my hands. Feng Yao frowned and persuaded again. Facing Feng Yao's remarks, Naruto just smiled and replied, Feng Yao, when you left the village, didn't you tell me not to keep your hands when I meet you? Show mercy. Looking at Naruto's firm eyes, Feng Yao's brows furrowed deeper, and he said, okay, then it seems that I don't have to worry about anything. After finishing speaking, with a wave of his right hand, 9 seeking jades immediately appeared behind Feng Yao, and another formed tin rod was caught by Feng Yao, and the yin and yang escape was also used by Feng Yao. Although Naruto and Sasuke were already able to resist the Gudauyu, the power of the Gudauyu explosion could still cause damage to both of them. Before Feng Yao was over, he whispered into the void, Bai Zi. The totem on the right arm suddenly moved, and it sprang out of Feng Yao's right arm to form a solid body. At this moment, Bai Zi has grown to its final form. It has 2 wings on its back, a pair of curved horns growing on its head, and its white hair has a strange three-color pattern. Red, blue, and blue represent the three attributes that Baizi can use now: fire, thunder, and wind. At this moment, Baizi's strength has slightly surpassed that of the complete nine-tailed body. Its body keeps getting bigger and bigger, stepping in the air, while Feng Yao stands on top of Baizi's head and looks down at Mingzuo and the two. Roar! Baizi roared, as if he was demonstrating against Naruto and Sasuke. Several hurricanes rolled up on the sea and blew towards Naruto. This was Baizi's ability to manipulate the wind attribute. The sea was swept up by the hurricane. Formed an attack like a waterspout, Naruto snorted coldly, and also turned on the nine-tailed transformation. Jumping forward, with a flick of the tail, the nine tails directly swept away one of the waterspouts, and then stood in a human shape, breaking the remaining waterspouts one by one. But Naruto didn't have a happy expression on his face. Both parties understood that this was just a simple test. Naruto, be careful. Although the guy on the opposite side is not a tailed beast, his strength is probably better than me, who is completely victorious. Fortunately, you have obtained the power of the old man Lu Dao, otherwise I really would not be his opponent. Kurama's voice came from the bottom of his heart, but he could also hear the seriousness of his tone. From the fight just now, Naruto already knew that the strength of Baizi under Feng Yao's feet was not under his nine tails. Pretend to be able. The dull voice came again, but this time it wasn't Sasuke's Susa, but Feng Yao's. Light blue chakra was attached to Baizi's body, forming pieces of armor that covered Baizi's body. Greatly increased Baizi's defense and combat effectiveness. Chapter 210_Sasuke for nothing. At this moment, the coercion emanating from Baizi was far superior to the nine-tailed force of Naruto and Sasuke. Come on, aren't you going to beat me? Do you want to seal the Ju tails, Yuri? I'll be waiting for you here. Looking at Naruto, Feng Yao shouted loudly without moving. Naruto and Sasuke didn't act the first time. They didn't give up, they were trying to figure out a way. They are not reckless. Although they want to defeat Feng Yao, they will definitely suffer if they face it head-on. They must come up with a strategy to defeat the opponent. At this time, the voice of the Kurama came again. Naruto, let me help you gather enough natural energy and focus all the power on one blow. Only in this way can you have a chance to defeat him. You and Uchihas hold on, boy. Naruto was overjoyed, but his expression remained the same, and he replied in his heart, don't worry, Sasuke and I will definitely do it. Naruto gave Sasuke a wink, and the two were in a good mood, and Sasuke immediately understood what Naruto meant. The purple light in the left eye flashed, and the nine tails in the prestige appeared again. This time Sasuke did not intend to keep his hands. This time he also used the pupil technique in the right eye. Flame evasion, plus earth life. In addition to the armor and long sword, a strong flame shield formed of black flames appeared from the left hand of the nine tails. Amaterasu, burning. Sasuke took the lead in launching the attack, and quickly completed several seals in his hand. Lei Dun Kirin. Suddenly the color of the world changed. Feng Yao raised his head suddenly, almost unresponsive, and the huge lightning force in nature was directed to Feng Yao. The thunder and lightning will turn into the shape of a unicorn, opening its mouth and biting towards Feng Yao. Boom! The unicorn bit Baizi's neck and released a lot of thunder and lightning, and the electric flower kept beating on Baizi's body. The impact made Baizi's body sink a few meters, and Sasuke immediately reminded, let's take the initiative to attack now and let him get tired of dealing with it. Naruto responded with a smile, don't worry, leave it to me. Multiple shadows. There are more than a dozen of the same Naruto in the scene, but the difference is that they all entered the nine-tailed transformation like Naruto. The only difference is that the shadow clone does not have the armor of Susanoo. The Naruto shadow clones rushed to Feng Yao together, using an attack similar to Naruto's continuous bombs, preparing to use the tail to knock Feng Yao into the air to launch an attack. When rushing to the front, a maneuver, just about to use the tail to send Baizi flying. Sizzle. The lightning unicorn biting Bai Zi dissipated in an instant, and Feng Yao stood on top of Bai Zi's head like no one, and used the Taoist jade to form a shield to wrap himself tightly. Bai Zi is naturally immune to the thunder attribute, so there is no problem in absorbing thunder. I originally wanted to trick Naruto into coming here, well, forget it. Feng Yao shook his head helplessly. In an instant, Susanoo's complete body was also activated, but a red, burly god of war appeared. There are long swords in the wings, which can fly, the 8-handed mirror in the left hand, the 10-fist sword in the right hand, and the black flame of Amaterasu is wrapped around the sword. Feng Yao's Suzuo rode directly on Bai Zi's body, and with a wave of his 10-fist sword, the 4 nine-tailed avatar clones that rushed up were all cut into 2 pieces with one knife. Black flames also burned their bodies, turning into white mist in an instant. Seeing that the situation was not good, the remaining shadow clones jumped directly into the air, condensed Feng Dun in their hands and prepared to attack again. Bai Zi opened his mouth, and countless arcs and chakras were absorbed. Several lightning spears shot out from Bai Zi's mouth, and the shadow clones in the thorns were all wiped out with one blow. Rushed over directly like Naruto's. Feng Yao waved his 10-fist sword to attack, but the next moment his eyes flickered, he had appeared in front of Sasuke. Tianshuli once again showed his might. After Feng Yao approached Sasuke's casting range, Sasuke moved it over immediately, so that Susa, who could stop Feng Yao, could still attack him. Thunderbolt Chidori, _ The electric current made a harsh interference sound, like 1,000 birds chirping. Virtualization. Feng Yao has long thought about this situation. In battle, sometimes he can use the enemy's ninjutsu to attack the enemy, and his right eye flashes to put his body into the divine space. Sasuke took Chidori's palm through Feng Yao's body. At the moment when the palm completely walked out of Feng Yao's body, Feng Yao grabbed Sasuke with his backhand and controlled Sasuke's arm. Just as Sasuke was about to resist, Feng Yao launched the wheel tomb again, all the shadows were released, and Sasuke was locked firmly, and he couldn't move for a while. Naruto was taken aback and was about to help, but the flamboyant Susa 10-fist sword had already reached his head. Even if he was pulled out of Susanoo's body, Feng Yao could still be manipulated, and he could even be distracted and beat Sasuke. Naruto can only manipulate the 9 tails to fight against Bai Zi outside. Hungry Ghost Road. Feng Yao produced a sucking force, and the chakra on Sasuke quickly flowed into Feng Yao's body. While absorbing it, Feng Yao also manipulated Susa to attack Naruto. This time, Sasuke used the power of the Heavenly Hand to launch an attack, but instead of being successful, he gave it directly for nothing. Nine Tails attacked first, pulling out the sword of Susanoo, and slashing at Bai Zi. However, Feng Yao directly changed Susa into a complete body, raised the Yata mirror in his left hand and bounced his sword out. The sword body flew a few times and fell into the sea. Damn, what kind of shield is that? It seems to be able to deflect my attack. Now Sasuke is also under control. What should I do? Should I save Sasuke or deal with Susanoo first? Naruto was furious, watching the complete body Susa stabbed with a 10-fist sword. He could only barely hold up the black shield with earth life to resist. Boom. At the moment when the two weapons intersected, the surrounding sea water was vaporized a lot. It was a direct confrontation between Susa and it was more a confrontation between flames. The black flames on the sword and the shield kept entangling and burning, and no one could do anything for a while. However, there was still Bai Zi in the scene. Bai Zi began to accumulate chakra in his mouth again. Naruto tightened his heart and manipulated the remaining hand of 9 tails to hold Bai Zi's mouth, preventing him from accumulating lightning. Roar! Bai Zi growled angrily. But Feng Yao was not stupid. He directly controlled Susa with his backhand to pick up the Yatagara mirror to attack the 9 tails. Now Naruto has no hands to defend. But a few huge tails stood in front of him again, blocking Yata mirror in the air. Do well, Naruto. Sasuke said weakly. He had absorbed a lot of chakra by Feng Yao in just a short time. Looking at Sasuke who still had the strength to speak in front of him, Feng Yao kicked him into Kuei's body with a spin, and Susanoo stopped when he hit him. "This will solve one first," Feng Yao whispered. Chapter 211-History will prove everything. Naruto immediately rushed over to help while Baizi and Ninetales were stalemate outside. Seeing that Sasuke was injured, he stored up a mortal chakra and hit Feng Yao with physique. Whoosh! Feng Yao's figure flickered and Naruto punched the air, because Feng Yao teleported outside using the Flying Thunder God technique. The 4 types of ninjutsu are constantly switched and used, and Naruto and Sasuke have so little information that they have been suffering. Naruto can only help Sasuke first. At this time, Sasuke has basically no chakra, but he is still trying his best to maintain Susa. Naruto sighed, and gave some of the 9-tailed chakra to Sasuke, which made the other party's face a lot better. Cough, sorry, Naruto, I was too careless. Sasuke sat up reluctantly, looking at Naruto with some shame. No, Naruto shook his head and continued. It's because Feng Yao's current strength is too strong. Even if we have the power of Lu Dao Grandpa, we still can't beat him. You should rest first, then leave it to me. Quote. Sasuke wanted to continue to insist, but under Naruto's strong eyes, Sasuke agreed, but he was still maintaining his prestige Susa. Naruto said this because the Kurama has helped him gather enough natural energy. In the distance, a 9-tailed shadow clone disappeared from the sea. This was the one that Naruto quietly left behind when he attacked Feng Yao. In the beginning, Sasuke's Kirin was to cover Naruto. The natural energy in this sea has been accumulated by me, and I am ready to accept it, Naruto. The voice of the Kurama came from the bottom of my heart. Naruto's robe moved without wind, and a lot of natural energy made Naruto's 9-tailed form appear 3 heads and 6 arms. The extra arms immediately reduced the pressure on him facing Baizi and Red Susan, and grabbed Baizi and Susanoo with his backhand, trying to throw them away. Feng Yao's pupils shrank, already understanding Naruto's next preparations. It's not that easy, Naruto. Feng Yao snorted coldly, and turned his eyes to the avatar who had been watching the play beside him. Then a green full-body Susanoo covered Feng Yao's body, with wings on his back and a spiral sword in his right hand. Susanoo, sword Yuian. The spiral sword in the right hand began to rotate rapidly, like a drill, and a gust of wind began to accumulate at the weapon. On the entire sea surface, within a radius of several hundred miles, all the winds are fluttering and rotating in one place. Feng Ling stretched out his right hand and bounced a red flame into the wind. 6 paths of immortal fire. Along with this gust of wind, the 6 paths immortal fire is even more powerful, and the drill-like sword will greatly increase the penetration power. That's it, just lie down and lie down for me. Then Feng Yao controlled Susa to dive over. The Kurama in his heart was even more anxious when he saw this scene. It was no joke if the blow hit directly. He urged loudly, "Hurry up, Naruto." Naruto gritted his teeth and turned his 6 arms vigorously, finally throwing Baizi out. At this time, Feng Yao's attack was also close at hand, and the 6 arms of the 9 tails held the spiral sword at the same time. The red 6-path immortal fire wrapped around it immediately damaged the armor of the prestige Susa and stabbed Kyuubi's body. Under the influence of the wind and black flames, Susa's armor was like a piece of paper, and the 9-tailed body had accumulated a lot of natural energy, and it was not penetrated immediately. But the whole body was also directly smashed into the seabed by Feng Yao. Boom! A conical vacuum vortex suddenly appeared on the sea surface, and the sea water would evaporate directly when it touched the 6 immortal fires. Ah! Naruto let out a painful scream. The whole body was continuously pressed into the seabed, and finally the body of the 9 tails could barely hold up. Feng Yao's eyes flashed, and he stopped the ninjutsu. The green wings shook, and Susanoo flew straight up. On the other hand, Kyuubi's body was constantly being spun by the whirlpools on the bottom of the sea, and it was estimated that he would be exhausted by the time he was thrown to the sea. Feng Yao just stood there in the air, quietly watching the whirlpool under him. 15 minutes later, there was still no movement on the sea. Feng Yao looked puzzled. Strange, this kind of vortex shouldn't kill them. At this time, the 9 tails on the sea surface at Feng Yao's feet suddenly burst out, and he didn't look weak or exhausted at all. The Naruto inside is in good condition, but Sasuke looks wet and seems to have suffered a lot of injuries. So that's the case, I sent Naruto out with the power of the sky. Did I suffer so many injuries in the whirlpool? Feng Yao was stunned. It should have been Sasuke who sent Naruto out of the whirlpool first, and after Naruto was safe and recovered some of the chakra, he turned around and rescued Sasuke from the whirlpool. Feng Yao's wings trembled, and he once again distanced himself from Naruto. But this was also Naruto's idea. 9 tails body, 3 arms in a group, began to condense spiral pills. This is also his final blow, 6 paths Super Jade Spiral Shuriken. Naruto glared at Feng Yao and shouted, "This is for Sasuke and those who have been hurt by you. Feng Yao, give me a good feeling." After speaking, 2 spiral pills, 1 black and 1 gold, began to condense in his hands, and the forming speed was extremely fast. "Why are you always so naive, Naruto?" A cold voice sounded from behind Naruto. Feng Yao used the imprint of the God of Thunder from the previous contact with Sasuke, and teleported to the body of the 9 tails. "You don't know where I come from. The future I see in this world is farther than any of you. Even the immortals of the 6 paths may not be as good as me. The history of ninjas in decades and hundreds of years will eventually prove me is correct." After finishing speaking, Feng Yao dropped the 10 Dao Seeking Jade borrowed from the avatar, and a total of 20 begging Dao Jade flashing with dazzling white light left directly. As Naruto's pupils shrank like the eyes of a needle, 20 jades exploded together. Boom! The huge red light wave first covered a large area of the sea, and then turned into a dazzling light that rendered the world into white and exploded. A semicircular vacuum area larger than before appeared, and a tsunami-like 10,000-meter wave and gust of wind swept toward the mainland. The aftermath even spread to the border of the land of clouds. Feng Yao was suspended above Bai Zi's head at this moment, calmly looking at the sea that could not be recovered for a long time. In a flash, he rushed down, and when he came up, 1 person was lifted on his shoulders and 1 by his waist. Naruto and Sasuke were dying at the moment, and it was extremely reluctant to survive such a strong explosion to save their lives. Feng Yao opened Yangchang Hirazaka, and brought them back to Konoha village, came to a flat ground, and laid them down. Sasuke didn't have many wounds on his body, and Naruto's entire body was about to be blown to pieces, and he was able to support it with his tenacious vitality. "Did you protect Sasuke with most of the begging jade? You really love to hold on." Feng Yao sighed, put his hands on the 2 of them, and put the power of Yangdun into their bodies, and protected them first. The lives of both. Chapter 212 Find 6 Path Immortals to settle accounts. Under the constant input of Yang's power, Naruto's split body gradually healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and Sasuke's face quickly turned rosy. Seeing this, Feng Yao stopped moving, turned around and said with a smile, "Feng Ling, I'll leave it to you next." The avatar who had been silent next to him nodded. He is the 10-tailed person Zuri, and there is something that only he can do. That is to make the immortals of the 6 paths reappear in the world. Feng Ling put his hands on Naruto and Sasuke respectively. At this moment, Indra and Ashura and Chakra of 9 tails merged into one. An old man wearing 6 robes, holding a tin cane, with a special mark on his head appeared in front of several people. He is the 6 path immortal whose chakra has been floating in the world since his death, Otsutsuki Yui. Immortal 6 paths looked at Feng Yao on the opposite side with a deep expression. He already knew that Naruto and Sasuke had failed. He didn't know why Feng Yao knew how to make him appear. Now he himself is by no means Feng Yao's opponent, because all his power has been distributed, and now he is only a part of chakra. "What's wrong, Otsutsuki Yuya, you dignified 6 path immortal, why can't you speak when you see me?" Feng Yao broke the silence and said with a smile. Immortal Lu Dao was surprised for a moment, and then slowly said, "It seems that you do know a lot of things." Are you trying to show off your victory by letting me out this time? Feng Yao rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, I'm not as boring as you, I just want to get rid of some of the restless people in this world. After saying that, he looked at the Six Paths Immortal, and it was obvious that Feng Yao was talking about him. Knowing that Feng Yao was going to deal with him, the Six Paths Immortal did not panic. He had lived for too long and had experienced a lot of things. He was not afraid of death. Then kill me, but you know, young man, manipulating the powerful 10 tails, and using your perverted methods to achieve peace, one day you will dig your own grave, just like me the mother is average. Quote. The Six Path Immortal sighed deeply, as if he was in pain because his words were not understood. Ah! Feng Yao spit almost flew to the face of Six Path Immortal. The Six Path Immortal's head is full of black lines, and he is someone who has lived in this world for thousands of years. How dare the other party be so rude? Feng Yao looked awe-inspiring, and said in a low voice, Lu Dao old man, don't think too much of yourself, you don't know your mother at all, and you are also a complete failure. Immortal Lu Dao laughed anxiously and asked in an old voice, Oh. Do you know my mother better than me? Why do you think I am a loser? Feng Yao smiled contemptuously, then found a stone pier and sat down, and began to talk about the Otsutsuki clan that even the Six Paths Immortals did not understand. Your mother came from the Otsutsukimoto family outside the planet. She was ordered by the family to come to the earth to plant a sacred tree and wait for 1,000 years to collect the fruit. Of course, you must know what the sacred tree is, right? The Six Paths Immortal frowned. He knew that his mother was a very mysterious person, but he really didn't know about the Otsutsukimoto family and the reason for planting the sacred tree. Otsutsukimoto's family, collect the fruit of the divine tree. The Six Path Immortal whispered. The next thing, you may know something, that your mother became the enemy of mankind, and finally launched the infinite monthly reading, but what you don't know is. Feng Yao sighed deeply. What I don't know? Immortal Six Paths hurriedly asked. He had no way of knowing these things, because he didn't know at all. Feng Yao paused and said in a deep voice, What you don't know is that the Otsutsukimoto family will soon come to this world. When there is no divine tree fruit, all of you will die. In order to fight against those people, your mother began to make white jelly and worship the sacred tree. Quote. I think you should know what happened after that. After all, you are all involved in person. The Otsutsukimoto family will come soon, but what resistance will the earth have at that time? There are wars everywhere, and most ninjas it's also helping the weak. Feng Yao said slightly mockingly. Hearing this, Six Path Immortal finally understood why his mother refused to listen to him at first, but he still does not regret protecting human beings and believes in the power of love. Even so, I don't think you can slaughter human beings at will for these reasons. If my mother was willing to tell us, we could have dealt with it together, and now the same is true. If you speak out, the ninjas will understand each other and defend against the enemy together. Six Path Immortal still shook his head and said his thoughts. Defend. You are too idealistic, old man of the Six Paths. Do you rely on mutual understanding to defeat the enemy? For example, now, I said that I want to become the 10-tailed pillar force and control the 5 kingdoms to stop the war. Why don't you understand me? What you call to understand each other is to force others to understand you, right? Quote. Feng Yao looked at the Six Paths Immortal with contempt, and it was hard to imagine that the other party would say such a thing after living for 1,000 years. Immortal Lu Dao was speechless for a while, and his face turned blue, but he continued, That's because you were wrong. Enough. Feng Yao interrupted impatiently, then stood up and said, Yuya, you were originally your mother's subordinate, but betrayal in your heart is unfaithful. It is unfilial to unite with your brother to seal your mother. The talented Indra does not recognize it, and it is unkind to treat him unfairly. It would be injustice to believe that Toad Maru is an outsider and to deal with his own relatives. A guy like you who is unfaithful, unfilial and unrighteous, dare to say that I am wrong. Feng Yao's body swayed and directly grabbed the spiritual body of the Six Paths Immortal. In the horrified eyes of Immortal Six Paths, he used the power of yin-yang escape to squeeze lightly, and his entire body exploded directly, turning into countless spots of light. When all this was done, the power of yin and yang in the hands of Sasuke and Naruto also disappeared, and the immortals of the six paths would only be history. Shanfa Dew of Life. Feng Yao was in the second knot, and a virtual butterfly also appeared in the air, dripping 2 drops of liquid exuding powerful vitality on Mingzuo and the two. Both of them made a comfortable voice. When Sasuke was about to wake up, Feng Yao touched his 6-go Jade Samsara Eye and instantly gained the heavenly hand. The two quickly added chakra, and slowly opened their eyes, and of course they saw Feng Yao at the first time. Sasuke seemed to be facing a great enemy, and immediately jumped away, took out his ninja sword, and looked at Feng Yao cautiously, while Naruto's eyes were complicated, and he stayed in place without moving. Chapter 213 Mouth-to-Mouth Battle. You lost, Naruto. Don't stop me from now on. Of course, if you are willing to join me, then I am more welcome. Feng Yao's eyes flashed. Naruto and Sasuke are still very strong now, and very few in the entire ninja world can beat them. Letting them become their own combat power is the best choice. After all, there are still many battles to be fought in the future. Sasuke didn't want to directly veto. Do you think we will promise you? If we don't knock you down and seal the 10 tails, we won't. The power of yin in my hands. Halfway through speaking, Sasuke's eyes suddenly widened, and he found that the moon in his hand, that is, the power of yin, had disappeared. Seeing this, Naruto hurriedly looked at his palm, and it had disappeared as expected. Then the two fell into despair, which meant that they had no chance to deal with the Jew tails. Feng Yao said calmly, "Yes, the 6-path immortals have been resolved by me, and of course your yin and yang powers have disappeared directly. Don't think about the matter of sealing the 10-tailed person's pillar power." Sasuke gritted his teeth angrily. He stepped forward and said loudly, "Even so, don't let us be with you. We will tell everyone what you do, and the entire ninja world will regard you as an enemy." Feng Yao's eyes became cold when he heard it. He activated his heavenly hand, and a teleport came to Sasuke's side. Sasuke was shocked and was held in place by the tomb of the wheel just as he wanted to resist. Naruto's expression immediately became nervous, but Feng Yao didn't make a move. Instead, he stuck to Sasuke's ear and said in a gloomy tone, "Then go ahead. If you tell one person, I will kill one person. If you tell 100 people, I will kill 100 people, whether it's your brother, teacher, etc. or anyone, as long as they know, I will kill them all, and then they will all be yours." Sasuke was really shocked at this moment. His eyes kept trembling, and his clothes were soaked in cold sweat. In fact, Feng Yao was just trying to scare him. Itachi was his subordinate. How could Feng Yao kill him? But Sasuke, the idiot, was too crazy, so he had to scare him. Thump. A muffled voice sounded. Naruto knelt on the ground. Feng Yao was stunned for a moment, then frowned and said, "What do you want, Naruto? Stand up for me." Naruto didn't pay any attention to it, but lowered his head, and trembled in a posture of sitting on the ground, similar to kneeling, expressing a sincere request. "Feng Yao, don't do this, I beg you, don't do it. Things that hurt others." Quote. Feng Yao is still a person who attaches great importance to feelings, otherwise he would not have helped Naruto several times, and he would not be merciful in battle. And it belongs to the type that eats soft and not hard. If Naruto's tone is tough, Feng Yao will definitely ignore it, but Naruto has already made such a gesture, Feng Yao can't just sit back and ignore it. He took a deep sigh and untied the wheel tomb. Sasuke regained his freedom and slumped on the ground. "I've let go of Sasuke, you can stand up now." Feng Yao walked over slowly. But Naruto still didn't respond, still maintaining the attitude just now. Feng Yao squatted down and stretched out his hand to support her, but Naruto just couldn't come up. Feng Yao drank in a low voice, and the ground under his feet was directly cracked, but Naruto remained motionless, as if he had maintained all his strength in this posture. Feng Yao was a little annoyed, so he let go of his hand and asked again, "What the hell are you doing?" Naruto then raised his head. The two of them wanted to meet each other. Naruto was silent for a moment before speaking again. I want you to release the 10-tailed man's pillar force, let out the 9-tailed beast, and then arrange for those who were arranged by you. The shadows of the people will be returned to those who are truly capable in the village. Quote. Feng Yao refused directly, turned his head away and said, this is absolutely impossible, even if you kneel and die here, I can't promise you. Feng Yao refused directly and turned his head away. Naruto's eyes dimmed, and he froze in place without moving. Sasuke was also depressed, sitting on the ground unable to get up. The four were speechless for a while, and the scene seemed a little quiet. Feng Ling was the first to speak. 9-tailed beasts will not do anything in my body, I will treat them kindly, just like the immortals of the 6 paths. Their power will play the greatest role in me. I will not use my power casually, more don't get addicted to being swallowed by it, you don't have to worry. Quote. Naruto's face was a little better, and the avatar's opening was actually equivalent to Feng Yao's meaning. Seeing this scene, Feng Yao was also quite satisfied. Naruto hesitated for a while, and then asked, the 5 major villages, the matter of Ying. Naruto's voice said that the back was very small, but Feng Yao still heard it very clearly. He pointed directly at Naruto and said, Utimo is really good at it. The 5 shadows are the key to achieving peace. Do you think the current predecessors did Ying do the right thing? Sandian village attacked. Union village started fighting. How many people died? Quote. Naruto fell silent. Nearly 10,000 people died in those 2 battles. Feng Yao snorted coldly and continued. As long as the 5 major countries return to their original state, this situation will continue. Is that what you want to see? You seem to be speaking for Yunyan or other countries now. Then I ask, if you continue to die at that time, will you be responsible? I dare say that under my protection, no one will die due to the war. Quote. Of course not, I mean. Naruto's inner will has been shaken at this moment, because he really can't guarantee this. For the first time, Feng Yao has the upper hand on the mouth, and people with reincarnation and natural teeth are hard-hearted. Of course we don't want to see that kind of thing, so we will try to stop it, but not in your way. You even use illusion to control my brother to do things for you. Sasuke retorted at this moment, but from the look in his eyes see that he is not very firm. Oh, in my way, do I want you to say your way now? Feng Yao looked at Sasuke playfully, and the other party was speechless. Feng Yao chased after the victory and scolded loudly, if your brother hadn't been here with me, he would have died at the hands of you idiot. He was terminally ill and I saved him. Sasuke was shocked. What? Terminally ill? Feng Yao continued. And you, Naruto, I'll show you what the ninja world would be like without these changes. Feng Yao's left eye flashed, and Yuyu restored many scenes for them. Itachi and Sasuke brothers slaughtered each other, Jiraiya died in battle, Konoha village was destroyed by pain, and the ninja coalition was slaughtered. These sacrifices are more than 100 times more than they are now, and which one is more important can be understood by ordinary people, let alone Sasuke and Naruto. The will of the 2 was finally broken at this moment. Chapter 214_finishing touches. Is this all true? I actually did such a terrible thing. Sasuke looked at his hands tremblingly, and at this moment he felt as if his hands were covered with blood. Naruto couldn't calm down for a long time. He couldn't imagine what he would become after Jiraiya died now. Feng Yao did not speak for the first time, but gave them time to slow down. After a long time, Naruto sighed deeply and looked at the setting sun. Feng Yao, maybe you're right, let go of the previous form and just hope that people will understand each other, and sometimes it will hurt more people. Naruto seemed to have lost all strength after speaking, and finally admitted at this moment. Feng Yao's approach. A hand stretched out to support him, and Naruto looked at Feng Yao's blue pupils. Trust me, Naruto, what I do next will not have any impact on the ninja world, it will only make him bigger. Come with me, I need your strength. Feng Yao said sincerely. Naruto looked at Feng Yao, was silent for a moment, and held Feng Yao's shoulder with his backhand. Sasuke hesitated, as if he wanted to say something. Suddenly, a group of crows flew over and stopped beside Feng Yao, finally forming the figure of Itachi. Feng Yao didn't show any expression, but Sasuke was tight in his heart. He was afraid that Feng Yao would hurt Itachi because he knew that he had relieved the other gods. Itachi smiled when he saw Sasuke's expression. It's okay, Sasuke, I have already told Orochimaru about the matter of the other gods, and I have not leaked the information of the Xian organization, please. Don't worry. Sasuke breathed a sigh of relief and stood next to Naruto. In fact, Itachi thought carefully after disarming Bess. If the truth is told, those who know will definitely be silenced, and Feng Yao is now extremely powerful. If he is provoked, it will not be a good thing for Konoha or even the shinobi world. Itachi is a smart person. Working with Feng Yao, Konoha will be fine, and his younger brother will be fine, so there is no need to say which one to choose. Feng Yao nodded lightly. Very good, it seems that the matter has been resolved, then let's go to Konoha to finish off. After saying that, the jade turned into a floating platform and flew over to the center of a Konoha with everyone. Konoha. At this moment, it has become a ruin, but some figures can still be seen walking on it. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and people from other villages are now clearing the rubble. The members of the immortal organization such as Orochimaru are responsible for treating the wounded. Although many people are still a little wary of them, they have just fought together after all. Moreover, even Tsunade, Jiraiya and others also made explanations and guarantees, and the ninjas didn't say much. Madara was the culprit this time, so he did not come here, but was sent by Orochimaru to take him back to the floating city first, and Obito, who is the same as him, finally decided to wait for everything at the request of Kakashi. After settling down, we will deal with it. Palm magic. Two stretched out his palm again to treat a young man, and the other's wound slowly healed as the treatment ended. This ninja looked at Duu with a lot of good intentions, which is why people from the Xian organization were arranged to be in charge of the treatment, which could improve people's opinions. Fourth generation, why did Sasuke and Naruto not come back for so long? Kakashi asked worriedly, looking at the distance. The fourth generation touched his hair and said with a tangled expression, I don't know, but I believe my son, he will be fine. Don't worry, Yaojun just has something to tell them, they'll be fine. Orochimaru's dark voice came from the side. Who can believe this? Feng Yao helped us this time for no reason. I won't believe you until Naruto and Sasuke come back safely. Kakashi stared at Orochimaru with sharp eyes, as if I want to see into the other person's heart. Then it's up to you, I just told you in good faith. The big snake tail responded and prepared to leave. Wait a minute, Orochimaru. A voice suddenly stopped Orochimaru's footsteps. Jiraiya also accompanied Tsunade over, and Sanrin finally gathered again, and this time it was rare to meet without quarrel. Orochimaru, you. Zillai was hesitant to say anything. He seemed to have a lot to say, but he didn't say anything. Orochimaru smiled and said, You're still the same, Jiraiya, but I can probably guess what you want to say. We may meet often in the future, old friend, if you and Tsunade get married, don't forget to invite me. Orochimaru walked over and patted Jiraiya on the shoulder, then walked smartly into the distance. Zillai also looked at the back of Orochimaru and showed a gentle smile. Don't worry, old friend. Tsunade didn't say a word, but his hand gripped Jiraiya's shoulder even more. Hey, look at what's over there, it looks like someone is up there. It's Naruto and Sasuke. It seems that Feng Yao is next to them. So they're really just talking, let's go and see. Everyone you said, I said, everyone crowded to the place where Feng Yao landed. Of course, Kakashi and others arrived as soon as possible. Seeing Naruto and Sasuke safe and sound, Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief, but he was still cautious when he saw Feng Yao. Teacher Jiraiya, Dad, everyone is here. Naruto jumped off the floating platform and came to the fourth generation. The fourth generation directly embraced his son with open arms. Naruto's body stiffened, and then he also embraced each other. Good job, Naruto, you'll be fine. Minato's voice was a little choked. Kakashi rolled his eyes. Who just said he trusted his son? Although the safety of Naruto and Sasuke was confirmed, Kakashi still had important things to confirm. Feng Yao, why are you helping us this time? Haven't you always hated Konoha? Don't you want to do something to Konoha? As soon as these words came out, the scene suddenly became a lot quieter, and everyone's eyes were fixed on Feng Yao's side. What? Do you really want me to do something to Konoha? Feng Yao asked playfully. Kakashi was stunned for a moment, and then responded in a timely manner. That's not true, I'm just asking what you think now. Feng Yao smiled and looked directly into Kakashi's eyes and said, Don't worry, I will not do anything to Konoha in the future, and the same is true of my power, but you Konoha must also revoke our wanted and admit at the same time our rightful place in the ninja world. Kakashi looked puzzled and asked, It's that simple? It's that simple, let me do you a little favor. Feng Yao smiled helplessly. Has he become so unbelievable now? Author's digression, another joke was made today. Originally, all 3 chapters were sent out at 1:30, and then went out to do other things. When I came back at 5 o'clock, the review of 2 chapters failed, which was embarrassing. Punctuation marks it's not correct. I'll post it after I've corrected it. I'm sorry, I'll wait for it to confirm that it's sent out next time. Chapter 215_Repair Konoha. Do us a favor. What do you want to do? Kakashi said suspiciously. Feng Yao glanced around. The damage of Konoha village is as high as 70%. Half of the houses have collapsed. The deep pits and cracks in the ground have also destroyed the foundation in a mess. This is all caused by the battle just now. It's just to help you clean up Konoha village. If you want to rebuild at this time, I'm afraid it will take a lot of time. Feng Yao said with a smile, and then turned his eyes to Feng Ling. The two were in the same mind, and the tin stick in Feng Ling's hand tapped lightly. Everyone looked puzzled, but soon the ground began to tremble, the cracks began to merge, and the deep pit began to fill. Boom, boom. The damaged buildings were all crushed into powder and buried in the ground. In about a quarter of an hour, the foundation of Konoha village had been repaired. Obviously, this is the use of Tuden, but no one can use Tuden to repair a village in an instant, and everyone has witnessed the miracle. Kakashi swallowed hard, and said with awe, Is this the power after becoming the 10-tailed pillar? You have the power to change a country in your gestures. The people next to him also all had their mouths grown up, with expressions of disbelief. Feng Yao continued, Although the foundation has been restored now, it must not be very convenient without a house. After all, you have so many people in Konoha. Before Kakashi could recover from the shock, Feng Yao waved again. This time Fengling started to seal, and Konoha's buildings are mainly made of wood, so it is suitable to use mudden to make houses for them. Wooden, the art of Xianju family. Click. The ground began to crack in some places, and thick tree trunks appeared. This began to appear in many places at the same time. The tree trunks intertwined and gradually formed houses of different sizes. This technique is similar to Yamato's Xianju family's technique, but the difference is that this time it is performed by the wind spirit who is the jutsu, and it is simply different from Japanese. When all the houses were built, the Konoha village in front of them seemed to be brand new, as if it had never been destroyed. This is a miracle. I am afraid that only the immortals of the 6 paths can do such a thing. The strength is too strong. I really have to thank others this time. Yeah, the culprit this time is the Xiao organization. It has nothing to do with others. They came to help us. My injury was cured by that little brother. They don't seem to be that bad. Everyone was talking about it. First of all, they were surprised by what they saw in front of them, and then they were grateful to Feng Yao and others. Feng Yao said, Everyone, from today, our immortal organization will not be an enemy of anyone in the ninja world, and will open up the technology of our immortal organization and reach a good cooperative relationship with Konoha. There was an uproar, although they were already prepared, but when Feng Yao really said it, some people were still surprised. Kakashi took a step forward, and now he is still Hokage after all, and of course he has to speak on behalf of the people in the village. Kakashi took a deep breath, then bowed and said solemnly, "First of all, I have to thank you on behalf of Konoha village. Feng Yao, you helped us defeat Madara, and we will not repair Konoha for this kindness. Forget, at the same time, as the 6th generation Hokage, I promise that I am willing to reach a cooperative relationship with the Sen organization." Quote. After Kakashi stretched out his right hand, Feng Yao also grabbed it. The two held hands, and Konoha village and the Immortal organization released their suspicions. Afterwards, everyone started to get busy again. They came to an underground fortress and brought out all the people who were hidden underground. Everyone looked at the new village in front of them, and almost all of them were dumbfounded. It doesn't mean that they couldn't hear it. It was like the end of the world outside. It seemed that nothing happened when they came out. After the explanation, the people are also full of goodwill towards Feng Yao and others. After all, who can not care about their own home? The sky was already dark, and everyone slowly settled down under the arrangement of the ninjas, including the shadows of Hideyoshi, Terumi Mei and other villages. Naruto was ready to go back after he helped, but he hesitated while looking at the 4th generation next to him, and had something to say. At this time, Feng Yao said appropriately, "We won't leave today, you can have a good talk with your father tonight." Naruto's heart warmed, and the 4th generation also patted Naruto's head dotingly and said, They always wanted to take care of you, Naruto, let's go home together." Naruto's throat seemed to be blocked by something, and finally his eyes were red and he kept nodding. The two gradually disappeared into the dark night. Kakashi looked at their backs and showed a gentle smile. At this time, a Joinin appeared and jumped to Kakashi's side and said something, and Kakashi's smile faded. Then he turned to Feng Yao and said, "I really trouble you today. I will arrange for someone to take you to rest." Feng Yao's eyes flashed, and then he nodded. Under the leadership of a Chunin, all the members of the Immortal organization here were arranged in a big room. Soon after, in front of a round table, the top of Konoha, Jonin, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and others gathered together, and of course Kakashi, who was Hokage, was in the middle. Sene frowned and said, "Lord Naruto, do we really want to cooperate with the Immortal organization in the future? Although he did help us this time, the previous things still make me think that they are very dangerous. Wouldn't he want us to send vigilance to capture Konoha?" Many people also echoed in a low voice, thinking that what Ibushi said was indeed correct. Nara Shikahisa shook his head. As Konoha's think tank, his words had great authority, and everyone was quiet. Luju said solemnly, "Although it is difficult for me to see the purpose of Feng Yao, one thing you can rest assured is that they have no obvious malice towards us, and you can see from his strength that if you want to attack and capture Konoha, why use tactics? I think cooperation can and must be done." Quote. The scene was quiet, and indeed for such a powerful strength, it was the best way not to be hostile to it. At this time, a high-level Konoha said, "It is the best choice to cooperate with the Immortal organization now, and it can also deter other countries. It should be done, but there is one thing I want to ask Lord Naruto to think twice." The other party's tone was obviously somewhat dissatisfied. Kakashi's heart sank, but he still asked, "Which thing are you referring to?" The high-level Konoha said in a bad tone, "Naturally, it is about the handling of Uchiha Obito. This person is Madara's accomplice, and I heard that he is the culprit of the Nine Tails Rebellion. Such a person must be dealt with as a serious crime. I hope Hokage-sama don't take personal feelings into consideration." The scene suddenly became a little dignified, and Tsunade's eyes flashed. She knew the opportunity was coming. Chapter 216_Tsunade succeeds Hokage. Speaking of Obito, many people showed anger on their faces. Obviously they could not easily forgive Obito. Kakashi was silent, and Luju said in a rounded tone, "Obito's crime is of course punished severely, but now that he has been caught, it will not be too late to deal with it in detail after Konoha settles down." Quote. However, most of them still refused to forgive, and demanded severe punishment or even execution of Obito. Seeing that the situation was about to become uncontrollable, Kakashi took the initiative to stand up. He took off the Hokage hat and placed it in front of the table and said, "Uchiha Obito was a teammate with me back then, when he founded Akatsuki Collection. I have an unshirkable responsibility for the tailed beast, and I am willing to be punished with him and resign from the position of the 6th Hokage." "This is absolutely impossible, Hokage-sama, who would lead us without you?" "I also ask Hokage-sama to think twice, it's all an old thing, you don't need to do this." Many people began to persuade Kakashi, but Kakashi made up his mind. He shook his head and said, "I'm no longer suitable for Hokage. I can't make a fair choice on Obito, but he is my comrade, and I once told him that when the war is over, I will take him to atone for it." Quote. Jiraiya also said solemnly, "Kakashi, this is your choice, we will not persuade you. Then in your opinion, who is suitable for the 7th generation of Hokage?" Everyone looks at me, I look at you, and finally all eyes are on Tsunade. Tsunade is the granddaughter of the 1st Hokage, the Princess of Konoha, and was originally the default 5th Hokage. And in this war, he made a huge contribution, persuading the shadows of the other 3 villages to assist Konoha to meet the enemy. Kakashi smiled and said, "It seems that everyone has the same opinion, then please ask Tsunade-sama to take over as the 7th Hokage." Saying that, Kakashi handed the Hokage hat over, but Tsunade was not pretentious and stretched out his hands to take it. From now on, Konoha village is also under Feng Yao's control. After that, the new Hokage decided to deal with Obito. Tsunade considered Kakashi's willingness to share the responsibility, and read that Kakashi had done a good job in this battle. Instead of executing Obito, he gave them the atonement for wandering out. Journey of. In the house on the other side. Feng Yao, Orochimaru and others sat on the ground together. The scene seemed a little quiet, but Shueyu looked at the window from time to time, as if waiting for someone. Whoosh! 3 shadows quickly entered the room. They were Terumi Mei, Hideyoshi, and Shirai, who was disguised as Tsuchikage. They knelt down on one knee and said in unison, "See Lord Feng Yao. If I let others see it, I'm afraid my teeth will fall out in a circle." These 3 people are in the ninja world, and now they are all characters who shake the ground 3 times when they say a word, but they have the attitude of subordinates. Feng Yao waved his hand and said gently, "Get up, you have run so far this time, it's hard work." Terumi Mei blinked, and then said delicately, "That's not it, so hurry up and treat me." As soon as he said that, he was going to stick to it. Just as Feng Yao was about to dodge, a small figure stood in front of the 2 of them. Duo Yu also stomped his feet and said angrily, "Sister, what are you doing? How can you hug someone?" Terumi Mei felt a little guilty, touched her earlobe with her finger, and quickly explained, "No, it's a small accident, maybe I'm more excited if I haven't seen a little man for a long time." Tayuya's eyes became more puzzled, his eyes swept back and forth on Feng Yao and Terumi Mei. Feng Yao coughed dryly and said, "Okay, let's get down to business first, don't make trouble." Everyone immediately found their own positions. Feng Yao calmed down and continued, "Now our plan has been basically completed. As long as the 5 major countries are under our control for one day, there will be no wars. What you have to do, it is to carry out more cooperation with each other to deepen the relationship." Quote. Hideyoshi immediately said, "Don't worry, Lord Feng Yao, our Union Village has been conducting various trade exchanges with Wuyin Village, and the people between the 2 countries have begun to communicate with each other. Now Wuyin Village and Union Village should be related. The best of the 2 countries." Quote. Feng Yao nodded with satisfaction. These 2 are relatively close after all, and it is normal to start first. Feng Yao turned to look at Orochimaru again. "Is there any news from Gaara? Have you encountered any trouble?" Before coming to Konoha, Feng Yao took Gaara, Scorpion, Ninki and others to Cheyenne Village. The task is to let them find an opportunity to deal with Luo Sha. This deal can be to make him disappear or catch him, so that he can't go back to Xian village. This Feng Yao is left to Gaara to choose and replace it later. Orochimaru said respectfully. According to the news from Immortal Slug, Gaara has successfully controlled Luo Sha, but Luo Sha seems to be willing to give up the position of Feng Ying. Gaara can't make up her mind, and now she has been staying in Feng Ying. The country awaits your order. Feng Yao was stunned for a moment. Is this Luo Sha so sensible? Well, it's okay to meet him. The last time we met was in Konoha. Tell me where Gaara's position is. Sandy Hidden Village Annex. Gaara and the others are staying in a sand castle at the moment. Luo Sha is being tied up by 5 flowers, and obviously there are many new injuries on his body. Luo Sha coughed twice and said, I've been waiting for a long time. Gaara, is Feng Yao still not going to see me? It's been almost a day since he was caught, but Gaara and the others are standing in the corner like statues, closing their eyes and resting motionless. Gaara opened her eyes and said calmly, Father, please be patient. Lord Feng Yao didn't answer. Looking at Gaara now, Luo Sha seems to be looking at another person, without the kind of loneliness and violence, just peaceful. Moreover, in terms of strength, Luo Sha was also directly crushed, and Luo Sha was taken down without much action from the others. Luo Sha was surprised by his son's change. When Gaara proposed that he was here to take the position of Feng Ying, Luo Sha made a choice, that is, handed over by himself, and even willing to cooperate with Gaara to inherit Feng Ying. At the beginning, he wanted to train Gaara into a perfect weapon and let him protect the village, but later found that Gaara was a failure and could not control his power, but now the situation is different. Gaara already has enough strength. Although she is now a member of the Immortal Organization, as long as Gaara returns to Xian village to inherit Feng Ying, Luo Sha feels that she can convince her son that she can use the Immortal Organization as a protective umbrella. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. At this moment, a door of space suddenly appeared. Everyone stood up. Gaara turned to Luo Sha and said, Let's go, father, it seems that Lord Feng Yao is willing to see you. Chapter 217_subordinate to 5 shadows. Luo Sha also stood up and took a deep breath. No matter what, he is still the wind shadow of Xian village, and he cannot lose his demeanor. The scene in front of me changed, and I instantly came to a brightly lit room. Luo Sha was stabbed by the strong light, and his eyes narrowed slightly. When he regained his vision, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Feng Yao, Orochimaru, and the others must be there, of course, needless to say, but Tsuchikage, Mizukage, and Reikage are also here. There was a man who looked like Feng Yao next to him, giving him a feeling of extreme danger. A drop of cold sweat fell from Luo Sha's head, and he couldn't help but guess in his heart, could it be that they were also arrested? No. From their appearance, it is obvious that they are very respectful to Feng Yao, which means that they have always been in contact. Did Feng Yao arrange to be the shadow? Thinking of this, Luo Sha's head was covered with sweat. He knew such a big thing. I'm afraid it would be difficult to escape. Feng Yao stood up and strode towards Luo Sha. Luo Sha felt that her heart was about to jump out at the moment. He swallowed and said, Again, we met again, Mr. Feng Yao, you really. The same style. Luo Sha really couldn't find any words, so he could only choose a random word. Feng Yao was expressionless, then put his hands behind his back. Luo Sha shrank in fright, but Feng Yao just took out a handkerchief, and Luo Sha felt relieved. Feng Yao wiped his sweat for him and said with a smile, Don't be so nervous, Lord Feng Ying, I heard that you are willing to give up the position of Feng Ying and cooperate with Gaara to succeed Feng Ying. After today, the Immortal Organization will no longer be a wanted criminal, and Gaara can enter Xian village justifiably. If he succeeds Feng Ying, Luo Sha's cooperation can save a lot of trouble. Luo Sha was stunned for a moment. He had wanted to pretend to agree with Feng Yao, then took Gaara back, and drew Gaara back together, secretly using the power of the Immortal Organization to protect the village. But now the situation has changed. The 3 villages of Wuyin, Yinyan, and Union are all under the control of Feng Yao, which makes him a little afraid to act rashly. But what Luo Sha didn't know was that his inner voice had been clearly heard by Feng Yao. Luo Sha was about to agree first, but when he was making plans, Feng Yao spoke first. Lord Fengying, I know that you are a man who sacrificed everything to protect his country, although I don't quite agree with you. When he said this, Feng Yao pointedly looked at Gara. Continued, but now, there is such an opportunity for your country to grow and develop, don't you want to take it? Luo Sha was stunned for a moment, he didn't quite understand what Feng Yao meant by development and growth. Feng Yao was a little ashamed, this Luo Sha's brain was not very good. What I mean is, as long as you are willing to help Gara sincerely, then Kurikan, Union, Sandian, and even Kanahayan village will strongly support you in trade and technology from now on. If you don't agree, then I will use illusion to control you, and the ending is the same, so please choose for yourself. Quote. After Feng Yao finished speaking, he returned to his position. With Bai Zi's mind-reading skills, he could clearly know whether the other party had lied to him. At this time, Luo Sha was indeed fighting fiercely in his heart. The conditions proposed by Feng Yao are still very attractive. The country of wind is all desert areas, the environment is harsh, the products are scarce, and it is not supported by the name of the country of wind. It has always been reluctant to support, and it is not enough to see Feng Yao's swearing appearance. Like a lie, at this point Luo Sha wanted to agree. But on the other hand, he was worried that Feng Yao was an outsider after all. What he would do after taking control of Xian village was completely unknown. There was no free lunch in the world, which Luo Sha knew. Seeing his father's struggle, Gara still spoke. You don't need to be so entangled, I promise that what Lord Feng Yao just said is not a lie. Maybe you will be unhappy when I succeed the village, but as long as you don't go against the wind under the wishes of Lord Yao, I am willing to sacrifice my life to protect the village. Luo Sha looked at the determined son in front of him, and suddenly he felt that even if Gara returned to Xian village, he might not be able to convince him. After hesitating for a long time, Luo Sha finally sighed and said, You've grown up, Gara, and you're not the same as back then, but it's good, your mother, Kaora, will be very happy when she sees it. Gara's expression changed for the first time. My mother. Doesn't she hate me? Speaking of Kaora, Luo Sha's face also showed pain, and he explained to Gara, that was the one I ordered Yashimaru to lie to you. Your mother loves you very much, and the sand will keep protecting you. It's her strength too. I'm sorry Gara for making you so miserable all this time. Gara's body trembled slightly, he was happy and moved. After the events of his childhood, Gara thought that everyone hated him. It was not until he met Feng Yao that he felt that there was light in his world, but now Gara only I know that the mother's love has never disappeared, but I have never discovered it. After calming down his emotions, Gara stepped forward and untied Luo Sha's rope and said, Thank you for telling me everything, father, but I'm no longer in pain. Ever since I followed Lord Feng Yao, that pain is gone. It's over. Luo Sha looked at Gara with complicated eyes, and then nodded heavily. I am willing to help you become Fengying, Gara, I believe that you can become the most powerful Fengying in history now. Feng Yao knew that the current Luo Sha was speaking the truth, so he dismissed the idea of using other gods to control the other party. Very good, then I'll send you back as soon as possible. After all, this is in Konoha village, and it will be dawn later. Feng Yao said and opened Wangquan Hirazaka directly. Gara and the others took Luo Sha back to Xian village, and Feng Yao simply explained some things and let everyone rest. After the second day, Feng Yao brought people back to the floating city. Tsunade brought someone to deliver it in person, and Jirai also stood by her side, as if acting as a bodyguard, because now Tsunade can be said to be the 7th Hokage, but there are some necessary procedures that have not yet been completed. Naruto Sasuke is here at the moment. Naruto is indeed here to send Feng Yao, and Sasuke is here to send Itachi. After all, he can't go to the fairy organization now, but Itachi promised to come back after a while. Kakashi and Obito stood together, and what awaited them was a long journey of redemption. Finally reaching the door of the village, Tsunade stretched out his white arm and said, Feng Yao, I hope we can move around more between the two and establish a good cooperative relationship in the future. Feng Yao smiled and stretched out his hand and shook hands with Tsunade. Don't worry, it will definitely happen, then we will go ahead. Yellow Spring Hirazaka. The door of space opened, Feng Yao and others walked in directly and disappeared from everyone's sight. In the 5 major villages, all the shadows are now under the control of Feng Yao, and they are all Feng Yao's own people. In the future, the ninja world will be war and harmony, and they are all between Feng Yao's thoughts. Chapter 218-Peace. Time flies, white horses pass by, and nearly a year has passed quickly. In a short period of time, great changes have taken place in the ninja world. The 5 major countries announced that they would stop all wars and strengthen cooperation in economic construction. The Land of Wind is no longer a desert. With the help of Konoha village and other countries, millions of green trees have been planted in the Land of Wind, and reservoirs have been built to solve the water problem of the people. In the hall of Cheyenne village, Gaara and Scorpion sat in the center, listening to the reports from the people below. The latest reservoir has also been built. Thanks to the ninjas in Korean village, water supply has been achieved in all areas in the Land of Winds. Gaara looked at the information in front of him and nodded with satisfaction. I know, it's hard for you, go down and rest. The current geographical environment of the Land of Winds is much better. As long as it takes time, it may be able to get rid of the bottom position of the 5 major countries. Scorpion stretched his waist and said, I love Luo boy, I guess there will be nothing to do next. I'm going to the old lady's place. It seems that I have something to look for. Hey, I guess I will be killed by someone else. The Scorpion is talking about the mother-in-law Chio, who has obtained the reincarnation technology of the dirty earth, and once re-summoned his parents and reached an understanding with them. So now Scorpion is basically staying in Cheyenne village, while assisting Gaara, and by the way, grandmother Chio can be brought to her death. Rai smile. Understood, brother Scorpion, you can go with confidence. After the Scorpion left, the hall was much quieter, and Gaara stretched his waist and said, it's time to keep working hard, but you can't be compared by the other 4. There are 5 villages and 5 shadows. Although they don't usually talk about it, everyone is actually fighting against each other secretly, trying to make the village they manage become the largest village in the ninja world. The Land of the Land, the geographical environment here has also undergone great changes. First of all, the domestic rock and mountain statues originally blocked the traffic between the Land of the Land and other countries, but now they no longer exist. Feng Ling personally took action, and the slag that was directly beaten with dust was not left. Other countries also helped, changing the geology of part of the Land of the Earth to make it suitable for cultivation. The current Land of the Land is no longer as conservative as before. Although it is safe, the lack of communication with the outside world has also led to backwardness. Now the Land of the Land has also introduced a lot of knowledge from other countries. This was of course impossible in the past. The major countries wished that the other party died sooner, so how could they hand over the technology they have worked so hard to learn to others? Because the people of the Land are good at creating the terrain, there are many rock labyrinths and rocky mountains rising from the ground, which has become a popular tourist attraction for many people. Feng Ling continued to stay here and took over the position of Earth Shadow. Yenian Village and Fengaling cooperated with Xianglin and Shuiyu. Since Xianglin knew the existence of the incarnation, he had a lot of bold ideas, so he took the initiative to apply to come to Yenian Village, but Fengaling and the main body are the same character, so I don't plan to do anything with Xiangrin. As for Shuiyu, it is completely planned to destroy. The Land of Fire is the one with the best geographical location, and peaceful development is the best choice for Konoha. On the street, there was a pair of brothers walking side by side, and they attracted a lot of eyes, that kind of adoration and respect. The clothes they wear have the family crest of the Uchiha family behind them, and it is Sasuke and Itachi who have grown up a lot. Since the 5 nations declared peace and lifted all charges against the Immortal Organization, Feng Yao quickly arranged for Itachi to return to Konoha. The third generation also told everyone the sad past, and Itachi was regarded as an idol by many people in Konoha. Sasuke turned his head and said, "Brother, did you hear that you are going back to the floating city in 2 days?" From the tone of voice, you can still hear Sasuke's dependence on Itachi. Like this kind of peaceful communication, Sasuke once thought that he would never appear in this life. Itachi turned around, lightly tapped Sasuke's forehead, and said with a smile, "I'll be back soon, don't miss me too much, it's very close anyway." Blush flashed on Sasuke's face, and he said helplessly, "I'm so old, don't get old on my forehead." Itachi looked at his cute brother and smiled softly. "Hey, Sasuke, you are here, it's great, let's do something with me." Naruto suddenly fell from the sky and looked at Sasuke with enthusiasm. "What's the matter?" Sasuke looked at Naruto with some vigilance. Speaking of this, Naruto suddenly became mysterious. He leaned into Sasuke's ear and said, "Oh, it's not about the lecherous immortal who is going to marry Granny Tsunade in 2 months, I'm thinking that I must find the most suitable one. Wedding gifts for them." Quote. Sasuke heard the spirit and responded, "What gift are you planning to get?" Naruto took out a novel with a cover of men and women chasing each other directly from his arms, held it up and said, "Of course it's a new chapter in the Intimacy series that I wrote by myself. I'm so happy, the lecherous immortal likes to write books, I think it will be fine to send this." Quote. Sasuke and Itachi swallowed their saliva unconsciously. If they really send this, I am afraid the wedding will become a funeral for Jiraiya. Wuin Village and Union Village are also developing very well, and each country has used its own strengths to give other countries the greatest help. Terumi May also tried to confess to Feng Yao this year, but unfortunately, was rejected. However, she did not become decadent, but spent her energy on the construction of Wuin Village, and Sabujin and Bai were also assisting her. In this year, Hideyoshi not only got married, but also the teak man became pregnant. From the beginning of rebellion, he became a winner in life. Every day he woke up, he felt like a dream. Chongo and Junmalu stayed in Union Village. Help Hideyoshi. As for the floating city, it has now changed its location again, and the entire city has now moved to the center of the ninja continent, the closest to the land of fire. During this year, Feng Yao changed his ninjutsu again, and extracted 2 abilities, blood following the limit and auxiliary ninjutsu, and his strength was improved again. Now almost all the ninjutsu in the ninja world has been mastered by Feng Yao, and it has become a veritable #1 fighting force in the ninja world. Madara has also fought against Feng Yao several times in Floating City, but the result is that once is not as good as once, and now he is almost autistic. But looking at Feng Yao's achievements, he once sighed. Whether it's strength or vision for peace, Feng Yao, you are right, the era of Hashima and me is over forever. In addition to fighting Feng Yao, Madara's remaining job is to help the Immortal Organization train new people. Every few months, the 5 major villages will send talented young people here to provide fresh blood for the Immortal Organization. Orochimaru, Tayuya and the others have been staying in the floating city, not leaving much. Orochimaru drills into the laboratory every day, studying and learning various ninjutsu. The 5 major countries are under the control of Feng Yao. Of course, what he wants is a matter of 1 sentence. Orochimaru can come up with many strange things every day. This is also his ideal, research and creation. Orochimaru is very satisfied with his current life. Chapter 219 Season Finale. Duo Yuya has always been by Feng Yao's side, taking care of the big and small things, and the relationship with Feng Yao is gradually warming up, which is the greatest happiness for her. Feng Yao stood on the edge of the floating city, overlooking the entire ninja world from here. A year has passed, and all the small countries in the entire ninja world have followed suit, and the completion of the task is close at hand. Yao, what are you thinking about? Yuya's gentle voice sounded in her ears. A year has passed, and now Duo Yuya is slim, with long red hair on her head and wearing a light white kimono. She has become a very eye-catching beauty. It's nothing, I'm just thinking about something, I'm a little distracted. Feng Yao glanced at Yuya softly, stretched out his palm and touched her head. Duo Yuya's cheeks were slightly red, and she held Feng Yao's arm affectionately. If you have anything, you can tell me. Feng Yao smiled bitterly, this is really not useful. Don't worry, it will be resolved soon, let's go back. After speaking, Feng Yao held Yuya's hand and walked back with her. Having more time to get along with Duo Yu also made Feng Yao cherish this girl even more. No matter what happened after that, Feng Yao had already decided that the other party was his wife in this life. Tu bumped into him head-on, and now Tu is the medical director of the floating city, which is different from the previous life, but he has also found the value of his existence. Master Feng Yao, good afternoon, are you taking Duo Yu on a date? Do adjusted his glasses, as if I knew everything. But Do is indeed one of the people who knew that Duo Yu also likes Feng Yao for a long time. Every time he sees the two Do, he can't help but say a few words, as if he matched them by himself. Feng Yao helped his forehead helplessly, but he didn't deny it. Can't you be less poor? Didn't the Wind Kingdom invite you to be a medical consultant recently? I order you to hurry up. Do's face stiffened, and then he shouted strangely, you are avenging your personal revenge, Lord Feng Yao, don't go. But Feng Yao didn't intend to ignore him, and walked straight over. Many people greeted him along the way, Orochimaru, Saj, and Neji. Now the caged bird on Neji's head has disappeared. For Feng Yao now, a small curse mark can't trouble him at all. Yao Jun, you are really in love. I'm going to ask you for a vacation. Jiraiya's wedding is coming soon. I'm also waiting for your wedding. Well, Lord Feng Yao, my opinion is similar to Lord Orochimaru. Good afternoon, Lord Feng Yao, where are you going now? Feng Yao responded one by one, and most of the people in the Xian organization are now living their ideal lives. Every time Feng Yao sees a person, he will recall the old days. He has no regrets when he came to the Naruto world. He can create a new chapter in the ninja world, change the lives of so many people, and harvest his love. He is very grateful to God for giving him the opportunity to come into this world by yourself. Congratulations to the host for completing the task. To achieve peace, there is no war in the ninja world now, but peace needs the maintenance of people. Please continue to work hard, and now issue rewards for the host. The sound of the system is not as mechanized as before, but a little more agile, even emotional. It was also the first time that Feng Yao heard such a voice from the system. In the two extractions of new ninjutsu, the system did not assign new tasks, which made Feng Yao faintly feel that perhaps this was the last task of the system. Feng Yao shook off everyone and came to his room as quickly as possible. But after entering the room, Feng Yao didn't know how to speak. He was very grateful for everything the system had brought to him. If it wasn't for him, he might be just a nameless man in Konoha village. Feng Yao held back for a long time, and a sentence came out of his heart, thank you. The system burst out laughing, and then said somewhat unexpectedly, host, you are now the strongest in the entire ninja world, how can you still show such an expression? Feng Yao raised his brows, and his emotions that he finally continued were interrupted by the system. Feng Yao scratched his head and said helplessly, don't make fun of me, you never told me what the reward for achieving peace was at that time, you can always say it now. The sound of the system returned to its original state, echoing in Feng Yao's mind. A reward is being awarded to the host, a chakra fruit, which is the fruit condensed on the god tree. With his host, he can be called invincible in the ninja world, even a powerful enemy from an alien planet can be killed instantly. Hiss. Feng Yao has already seen the big world, but when he heard this kind of reward, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. This time the system is so good that it explodes. Chakra fruit, just this one fruit, has long been in the current ninja world, and I can eat one. Before Feng Yao could react, the system said again, the host has now completed all the tasks of this system, and it's time to end, congratulations, Feng Yao. This was the first time the system called his name, and it seemed that it was indeed over. Feng Yao said with a sour nose, I will not forget you, thank you for everything you have done for me. The system also fell silent. After Feng Yao, the other party had left or disappeared, but there was a sparkling fruit in front of him. Just when Feng Yao remembered it for a while, the system suddenly urged, You eat, what are you doing? Clam. You didn't disappear, Feng Yao said strangely. Quote. Who said that this system disappeared? I just sighed with emotion. After all, you can be regarded as this system growing up. Feng Yao is ashamed, then what you said is the same as hanging up. Without the psychological pressure, Feng Yao directly swung his hand and took the chakra fruit in his hand. This fruit is probably several times better than the one that Wei Yi swallowed. The system is really bleeding this time. Opening his mouth, the fist-sized chakra fruit entered Feng Yao's stomach, and a chakra volume that surpassed the sum of all the people in the ninja world exploded in Feng Yao's body, and Feng Yao's body turned blue. Color, a coercion spread from the center of his body. The house was directly shattered by the air waves, and the surrounding people rushed over immediately as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Don't get close, it's just me absorbing chakra. Feng Yao stopped Tuyuya and others who wanted to come over in time. Feng Yao slowly floated into the air, and his body changed again. One eye was exposed on his forehead. There were 9 Hokage in his blood-red pupil, his hair began to turn white, and his head had 2 more gray horns. The light slowly disappeared, and Feng Yao fell to the ground again. All the people supported it at the same time. Master Feng Yao, are you all right? How come you have horns? Don't talk nonsense, it should be some kind of chakra receiver. How could Lord Feng Yao grow horns? You think it's a cow. Then is there anything wrong? There is a reincarnation eye on the forehead. Although all people have different problems, they are all concerned about Feng Yao. Looking at everyone's concerned eyes, Feng Yao opened his arms to embrace everyone in front of him, and then said gently, Don't worry, I just gained some new powers that can protect you. As he said that, his eyes turned to the distant horizon, slightly condensed. Lines of sight passed through the atmosphere, across planets, and across distant light years. 3 non-human beings in white robes are running in the universe. One was wearing pale skin and long gray hair, with a very long high ponytail, no eyebrows, and 2 polka dots on his forehead. On the head there are 2 hard horns that bend forward like rabbit ears. One was dressed in white, covering the right side of his face, more than 2 meters tall, and very huge. The last one was dressed in white, carrying a red light fishing basket and holding a red light fishing rod. It's strange, I seem to have an uneasy premonition, as if something is going to happen. The man headed was the first to speak. Could it be your illusion, Peach Style? What kind of ominous premonition can you have at this time? The man with the red fishing rod retorted. The big man was silent. They are the Otsutsuki Peach, Otsutsuki Ura, and Otsutsuki Kim that the Otsutsuki family sent to retrieve the fruit. Suddenly a huge coercion, across the starry sky, directly impacted the 3 of them. Jinshi immediately stood in front of Otsutsuki Momo, Fushi instantly switched his samsara eyes, and the 3 were ready to face the enemy with all their strength. But at the moment of first contact, the pupils of the 3 shrank suddenly, and the formed formation was split apart like a destructive force. The blood mist was sprayed in the universe, and the power far exceeded their understanding. At the moment of contact, all 3 were seriously injured. One of Daoshi's arms was gone, and he said in horror, Go back to Otsutsukimoto's house immediately. This force is too terrifying, and the other party obviously warned us to leave immediately. Jinshi endured the pain on his body, came to Daoshi's side, grabbed him and Fushi together, and went back again in despair. End of the book.